Hello, it's Leah Simone, and I'm back with another pick a card reading. This one is going to be a little bit deep, so I want to start off. This introduction is probably going to be a little bit long, but I want to start off just giving a little bit of an explanation. So, this tarot reading is going to be touching on childhood wounds. So, I want to go ahead and just give a trigger warning ahead. These are the piles. I have not looked through them yet, but I shuffled these. And my meditation, the intention of this pick a card is to really connect with your childhood wounds, our childhood wounds, the childhood wounds of the collective, and give a voice to it. Oftentimes it's really difficult for us to talk about some of the things that we've experienced in the past in our childhood, especially because usually it involves a family dynamic. And so it's hard to talk about things that were maybe wrongfully done to us, whether it's with intention or without intention. Sometimes it's difficult to talk about that because at the end of the sentence, at the end of the story, these people we're discussing, they are still our family members. And so sometimes it's hard to separate the love for the family members versus their actions that may have been inappropriate. So, again, I just want to give a trigger warning. I don't know what exactly these cards show, but if you don't feel like you are in the right space to be able to go through this, maybe reconsider coming back at another time when you are in a space where you feel comfortable and you are able to receive this message, because I'm going to communicate very directly. As I'm channeling, when I communicated and I meditated before this, my guides made it very clear to separate my own emotional body from the message, and that the point of this reading is to give a voice to the wounds, to be able to articulate maybe what you may not be able to articulate, and then also to just kind of dissect that and uncover how that has impacted you, for better or for worse, how you now view the world versus how you view yourself, etc. So we're going to get pretty deep into this, but I just want to say again in the beginning that when I am delivering these messages, if it feels like I am communicating without empathy, that is not the case. I've been asked very clearly to separate my own emotional body and my own emotional response and just communicate clearly what the message is, so that to minimize any risk of re-traumatization or just whatever, just allow you to process as you need to. So, I feel like I'm forgetting to say something, and if I am, I'll add a little caption right here on the screen for you to see. But as typical, we have piles. Obviously, I usually have 3, but I decided that I wanted to do a little bit more. I wanted to do 5. So we have pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, pile 4, and pile 5. I will, of course, put a picture up for you to take a look at if you need to in order for you to decide which pile it is that you want to choose. And you can take your time with that. Otherwise, I'm going to get started with pile 1. Okay. Pile 1. I understand that this is a heavy topic, and I feel like I need to just go ahead and say that in the beginning. Excuse me. I'm feeling a lot of throat chakra restriction, and a lot of anxiety when I was shuffling this. And I think that I'll go through and see what I'm seeing here, but as you guys maybe know by now, if you don't already know, I like to explain the energy that I'm feeling first and then go through and read the cards. And so right now the energy that I'm picking up on is a lot of a lot of anxiety, a lot of there was also a lot of perfectionism, like everything that I had to do, the way that I was doing it had to be right. And I was experiencing a lot of mental like acrobats is what it felt like, where as I'm going through with the layout and just in general, it's like questioning every single decision. Like, should I do this? And then I commit, and then I'm like, well, maybe, and then I think of reasons why that wouldn't work. And so it's very heavy, indecisive energy. And that's what I'm getting here as the root of this childhood wound for you, pile one. So it seems like so what is your core wound? Your core wound is, to sum it up, the way that it shows itself is in indecision and in being overly critical of yourself and of others. And so what I'm seeing here is that there's a lot of anxiety when it comes to making a choice. And I'm seeing that this may be rooted in, you may be a child of divorce, and you may have felt that you were the pawn, or that you were in the middle of this divorce where your parents were almost putting your decision, like you had to choose which parent to go to, or which parent you wanted to spend time with. And I want to just say that this reading is not to place blame on anybody, and this reading isn't to pass judgment. It's just to give a voice to the situation, to maybe what you might have been feeling or what you have experienced that you haven't been able to communicate to either the people involved or just to anyone in general. So I just really feel the need to really reiterate that again. So going back to the message here, what I'm seeing is that it made it difficult because you had to bear the emotional responsibility of whatever parent you didn't choose. So if, for example, you chose that you wanted to go with your more masculine father, more masculine, more feminine, or even if you had like same-sex parents, it does, the anatomy of that isn't important. It's just parent A versus parent B. And so in choosing parent A or parent B, you had to take on the emotional responsibility. Let's say if you chose to go to parent A for whatever occasion or a weekend or whatever the situation was, you had to take on the emotional responsibility of parent B. And maybe not directly. Maybe it wasn't directly communicated to you in the sense that it was like, oh, you're picking the other parent over da 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 da. Maybe it was just communicated in ways where, like, let's say you say, oh yeah, I want to go with parent A this weekend. They told me that they want to go take me, to a baseball game, for example. And then parent B comes back and says, oh, well, I'm really going to miss you. I really wanted to hang out with you this weekend. And gosh, I really had something fun planned. Now I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'll be bored. Things like that with the undertone of, because you are not here or because you are not choosing me, I now have to, this is the perspective of the parent. Because you, the viewer, did not choose parent B, or whatever parent you didn't choose, that parent then now is giving you the subconscious messaging that because you chose what you chose, you are inflicting pain on that parent. And that's not true. And what I'm getting is that this happened on both sides. Maybe not exactly like that on both sides. Maybe it was a different approach on parent A's side. But either way, you felt the responsibility to have to choose. And you did not want to hurt any of these guardians. And let me just be clear. I'm saying parent, but it could be a guardian. It doesn't have to be a birth parent. I'm just trying to communicate the message. So I feel the need to over-explain that because that's how your mind works. is that you kind of like, and I don't know that you know that you're doing it, and I don't know that it's intentional for you, but you nitpick through everything to try to get to the, it's like to try to alleviate, what's that? Okay, hold on. I just got a visual and then I lost it. But it's like trying to wipe out any chance of any type of fallout. So if you can, it's like in your mind, if you can just make the decision that's gonna like make everybody happy and not like nothing's gonna come back on, like, because I'm just getting the sense that you're not trying to upset anything, you're not trying to upset anyone, and in the process of doing that, it's hurting you, you're upsetting yourself, it's putting a lot of stress on you, and so let's move down here a little bit. So it's putting a lot of stress on you, and in the process you are being super judgmental. So on this side here, we have how are you viewing and interacting with the world versus how are you viewing and interacting with yourself. And so what the cards are saying here is that you are hypercritical of yourself. Every decision you make, no matter how it turns out, it's like there's always something that you feel you could have done better. There's always something that you feel like you missed or you didn't understand. No, it's not that you didn't understand. It's, excuse me. Speaking up. Also, yes. So that was something I said in the beginning. I've like the throat chakra restriction, also stemming back from childhood. It's like if you spoke up, you weren't sure. There was a fear of speaking up because you weren't really sure how that was going to play out. Whether you were going to have a volatile emotional reaction as a response, or whether someone was going to, again, this is speaking about your childhood and your guardianship, your home environment. So, and I'm getting specifically like guardians, parents. It's like speaking up is currently still a challenge, because you are super critical of yourself, and I'm just getting like you don't even speak about how much you judge yourself. Like no one would ever know. I'm just getting that you just kind of remain kind of cool and calm and collected, but no one would really know like how, I mean, unless they are a very intuitive person or they're really good at reading energy or even like psychic tarot, something like this. If it's just your common everyday person, I'm just getting that they don't see, or they would never know like how sad you are underneath the surface and how much you're really holding and how much you're really carrying, and really like how much you are judging yourself. I'm just getting that you are so super critical. Like it's the focus of everything that you do, of every decision that you make. It's like if you say, you want to go to this birthday party and you're like, yeah, you know what? I haven't been out in a while. I'm going to put on my nice dress and I'm going to go to this birthday party and I'm going to celebrate my friend and I'm going to do this unapologetically. It's like it doesn't take very long before you start judging yourself and you're like, well, I shouldn't. I really should be doing this, and and then you become hypercritical and then you talk yourself out of it. And that can go in any way. So whether it was that you wanted to go and then you change your mind and you're like, no, I'm not going to go, or whether you decided, no, I'm not going to go because, I'm going to be responsible, blah, blah, blah. Then you'll judge yourself about, well, I should show up for my friend because they're my friend and they show up for me, and I might be looked at as a bad person, so I'm going to go. It doesn't matter how, it's like, that's what I'm getting, is that it does not matter. It doesn't matter what you decide. There's always going to be some sort of critique and judgment that's going to make you flip. And I'm just, so before I was doing this reading, I was just getting a lot of like exhausted energy, and it's like mental exhaustion. And then, like I said, even with this layout, just like laying things out, it's like like everything has to be just right. It's not even that everything has to be just right. It's like, let me just, it was it's like there's this fear of how something is going to play out. The fear of the end result. And I believe that you think that the way that you are judging yourself is how you think maybe people are judging you. But let me go over here to, okay, so how you're viewing the world and how you interact with the world. It's like you're faking confidence. I want to get another card to clarify this this death card here. I'm just seeing that you look at the world as very like it's very, yes, that's what I was gonna say. 10 of Wands. It's like it's very, it's the way you're looking at it is very like dark and sad and kind of negative and just like it's very pessimistic, and like you're confident in that. It's like there's no belief that, okay, what am I trying to explain? I'm just getting the energy that it's like, if you know anything about like, so the death card is ruled by Scorpio. If you know anything about Scorpio energy, Scorpio is very deep. And I'm hearing, what is the quote? Still waters run deep. But then also like, so I'm just getting the visual of like, the difference between running water and still water. And when water is still for too long, it starts to accumulate like bacteria and, you know, all of those things like that. So like it's not usable water. It becomes gross over time, and if it goes on too long, it's more like toxic than not toxic. And that's how you are viewing the world, like still water. It's like you're in this stagnant energy of like the world isn't going to change for me. That's what I just heard. The world isn't going to change. And then I heard for me, like the world isn't going to change for me. So I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure what that means to you, but it's like, I also, okay, what is this? I'm getting it's like, this is very like kind of defeated energy. No, let me take that back. It's not defeated energy. The energy feels more like, this feels like survival mode. Like it's like I have to function. It feels like there's no other choice. And that's what I feel like the confidence is. Like it's like you are so sure that there's no other way, that there's no other way to exist, or that like it's like, why change? Like what is that? How does that work? Like that's not real. You know what I mean? It's like skepticism, and you are so dead set on the way that you see the world and the way that you interact with the world. And I'm actually almost kind of getting that you're very like aggressive in your response, because your viewpoint is so strong. It is your modus operandi. Like it's your way of navigating through the world. And I'm just getting that you're not very open to perspective shifts, because this is coming from your childhood wound. So this is a subconscious belief that you have carried with you through your life. And that is how you interacted with the world. That is how you interacted with yourself. And so for you, it's like this is how it's been. I mean, there's no, like, this is how it's always been. There's no way you can convince me that it's going to be different. That's the energy that I'm picking up on from you. where it's like if someone were to offer a gem to help adjust your perspective, or something that you can try to see things different, which is adjusting your perspective, but maybe just like sharing their advice, whatever it is. It's if it's anything that negates your way of navigating through the world, you're like you're shutting it down. You're not even here to hear it, because it's like I know best. That's the energy that I'm picking up on. Is like, I know what I know, and I know best, and there's no way that you're going to tell me that this can exist differently. And it's a little bit so like you're defensive about that. Like, you are defensive about your stance in line, about your position, about how you feel. And the wild part about that is that while you are defensive, as if like you need to hold on tightly to this way of seeing the world, this way of seeing the world also makes you very sad. I'm getting very sad and very like insecure. I heard emotionally stagnant. You're not allowing emotions to move, because I'm just getting that you like, it's like this mask. You have to mask this. It's like, didn't I say that earlier? Like, it's like there's this secret, it's like this secretive energy about like how judgmental you are of yourself and of other people. Like, people probably wouldn't guess based on your interactions, because your interactions with other people, on a surface level, you keep things very surface. Going deep is not, you're not comfortable with that. Or at least you haven't been. I'm getting that like you're starting to kind of like dip into it and get your toes wet, and like maybe you're waist deep, and that's like the deepest you've ever been in waters. This is a metaphor, by the way. Water is representative of emotions. So it's like where before you were like, let me splash my toes around in this emotional water, but for the most part, we're going to keep it surface. I'll get on the boat on the water. I'll be on this floaty on this water. I'll be on the surfboard on this water, but I'm not submerging. That was your energy. And I'm just getting the sense that now you're like, all right, I'll get on this boat and I'll paddle out and I'll let my feet dangle over like to my kneecaps. You know what I'm saying? It's like, let's see. Like, I'm going to go out further where you might have stayed in where it was like the shallow waters. Like, I'm going to go out further, but you're like, let's not be crazy here. I'm not trying to like go scuba diving. That's your energy. Like, I don't mean to laugh. This isn't funny. I'm not making a joke of it. It's just, that's totally relatable. That's how it is, in my opinion. It's totally relatable with new experiences. Sometimes it's like, I don't know. Let me test this out a little bit first before I submerge myself all the way. And that's cool. At least you're making progress. Do what's comfortable. Okay, so the lesson, excuse me. I'm going to get a sip of water. So, excuse me, please. Okay, so I asked, what was the lesson to be learned, or what is the lesson to be learned from this situation? I heard unhand me. So I'm just getting this. Okay, a couple things. So first of all, before I answer that question, I heard unhand me, and then I'm looking back up here at these cards which represent your childhood wounds, and I'm looking at this picture, and I'm just looking at and noticing like how loose that ribbon is and how she is able to free herself. But I'm also noticing like the blindfold on her, which she can take off, but she chooses to remain in the dark. She chooses to remain stuck in this, attached to this situation of not being able to make choices. And in your perspective. I'm saying she because this card is depicted by a feminine, so that's not to say you or she. You can be he, she, however you identify. I'm saying she because it's a woman in the card. But this person, she can free herself. She can free herself, but she remains to say, this is like a gate that's open. She could easily walk through. And this home here in the back typically is representative of our childhood. So it's like she's right on the edge where she can free herself and go forward. You know what I mean? Go about her merry little way and separate from that, or process it however she needs to. But she's choosing to remain there. How can I explain this? In this way of seeing the world based on her experience. Okay, so that's what I'm getting, is that it's like you may have gotten into the pattern of using this experience to use this wound to justify the way that you interact with the world. And I'm just getting, so you may possibly have started to do the shadow work, to recognize that, like, to start having some self-awareness, to recognize like, wow, okay, so I see how I am holding myself back, or I see how maybe I have been self-sabotaging, or I do see how this situation has impacted me to navigate the world in this way, but I also see that I have another option. So I'm just getting that you may have started to do your work already. And if not, then I think that this reading is like your guides encouraging you to do that work, because it's messing with your confidence. It's messing with your confidence, and because it's messing with your confidence, the gifts that you have that were divinely given to you, that you can share with the world, that you could really, like, prosperous is what I heard, like the gifts that you have to be able to share with the world and to help even further reiterate your confidence in yourself and to help you find your value and tap into all those things. You're not accessing it. You're not accessing it because it's so buried deep underneath the judgment. And this is not me judging you. I'm articulating. So please, I know sometimes my communication style can be a bit curt. And I just feel the need to say that because I can see here in the cards how critical that you are of yourself. And I am not being critical of you. I want to be clear. I'm just communicating what I see here. And what, Spirit is saying. And so just to recap that real quick though, Spirit is saying, if you have not already started to really dig in and do that work, they're encouraging that transformation. I'm just getting the sense that there's a transformation that's not happening because you are so defensive. You are so defensive. So it's like I'm getting, there's a lot that's coming through. I know I said I was going to answer the question about with the lesson, and I will get there, but there's a lot that's coming through. So I'm just getting that you are a person who, if someone were to try to help you identify these hang-ups that you have, or where you might be a little bit stuck, you become defensive and you automatically shut down and you're not willing to hear it. Or if you're not there now, you have been that person recently. But I'm just getting the feeling that you are that person, and that's what's keeping you from being able to transform and elevate into this higher, like to really connect with your higher self and connect with your confidence and to connect with your prosperity and move forward into the direction. I'm just seeing that you have a lot of creative gifts. Excuse me, I heard visual gifts. So I don't know, maybe you're an artist, or maybe you have something visually, like visual and creative. I don't know how that connects for you, but I'm actually seeing like digital, like maybe graphic design or something, maybe like on a computer or digital. Like it's like you have a vision in your mind, maybe making movies or TV shows or comic books or something. It's like you have a vision in your mind, and then you translate that into something in a digital manner, or even like by hand. Maybe you do like on the computer the sketch drawings. I don't know what it's called. I'm not artistic in that way. So I don't know the proper terminology, but so you might be someone who's into that type of thing. I also heard theater, so you might be into the those kind of arts, the theater, dance, I'm just getting a very like artistic, creative person, and so you're not able to tap into that, or maybe you have the ideas but they're fleeting, or maybe you start but you don't finish because you become so judgmental and critical of yourself, of the idea of how people would respond, what they would say, that you talk yourself out of it before you even like really get moving with it. And I'm just getting the sense that it's like that is the lie. That's like the grim reaper on your shoulder whispering lies of to like kill your dreams, and it's not true. That was a really interesting metaphor, analogy, but you know, that's what was given. So I suddenly started to feel like I don't know, like I'm taking too long. So if you need to take a break or a pause, I really want to take my time with these, because I want to give a voice seriously to the situation, and I really want, my intention of this is to help to connect the pieces of who you are now and how you got to be this person based on your childhood experiences, for one, for your benefit, and for the benefit of the whole, but also to help maybe shift, to help put in perspective that we're all humans. We all have, everybody, who here is unscathed by childhood? No one. We all have childhood wounds. And we can overcome them. You're not individual. You're not alone in that, is what I'm trying to explain to you. I just feel like I really need to explain that. So I want to take my time with this and like make sure you know that, you know, each one teach one, or whatever that saying is. That's so cheesy. If I have the ability and the gift to help work through this with you, and if Spirit can use me as a channel to communicate whatever would be beneficial for you, to help you through this process, I'm totally down. I'm honored. Truly, I'm honored. And I'm not judging. I just feel the need to like really reiterate that I am not a judgmental person. If we sat down and we talked about the stuff that I've been through in childhood, actually it's because I worked through those things and am working. I mean, we're never fully healed, but it's because I worked through those things and am working through those things that I was able to get in touch with these intuitive gifts, to be able to read tarot and my own psychic ability, and then tap even further into my own creativity. At one point I was getting like floods of ideas that was overwhelming, because it was like, now I have analysis paralysis, because I'm like, I have so many options, which do I choose, you know? And so anyways, I don't know why I felt the need to say that, but I just want to take my time and reiterate that. All right, so let's move on down here. Okay, so what is the lesson here? I'm just getting that when you find yourself in situations where, even if it's a situation with yourself, where it feels much, let me just make sure this is still recording. Okay. All right. So, even if it's just situations with yourself, I'm just getting that if you find yourself in a situation of conflict, it's okay to speak up or to move away from that. If you find yourself in an uncomfortable situation where someone is putting you in the middle of something that you don't need to be in, it's okay to remove yourself if that feels abrasive to your energy, or if that is triggering these, maybe like wounds from childhood, or just, it doesn't even necessarily have to be childhood, like, super tiny. It could just be a life event. I said it with the intentions of childhood wounds, but I think that Spirit is moving me more towards just like wounds of trauma in general. Life, I don't know how I'm going to label it. Anyways, my point is, if you find yourself in conflict, you have the ability to move away. And there's just this heavy focus on judgment that, how can I say this? It's like you are judging yourself And then you're also worried about the judgment that's going to come from other people. And a part of it is like, who gives a fuck? Because people are going to, the thing is, like, when people judge, they are, the most judgmental people are usually judging themselves harsher. They're usually judging other people as a projection of their own insecurity. So if someone is constantly judging you, it's because they are insecure and they're trying to deflect from their own, what they feel are shortcomings. And that's not to say it is or isn't. It's just that if they are super judgmental of you, they are likely judgmental of themselves, and that may be because somebody was then judgmental of them and that was a learned thing, or they're insecure. It doesn't matter. It's just a pattern. So being able to really like step outside of the situation and not personalize it, meaning like don't make it about you. Yes, you may be involved, but ask yourself, does this person interact the same way with any other person? If so, then it's not about you. That's their coping mechanism, and that has to do with something else that they're hiding, that they're not speaking about, because we're human, and being a vulnerable thing is something that we are all, I think, as a collective, really learning how to do. Some of us didn't have the privilege of that type of experience growing up. So that's just a result of them not being able to show their own, whatever. It's just a result of them, and it's not personal to you, is the point that I'm trying to make. And being able to look at it from that approach will help you in these situations of conflict to say, like, is this about me? If this is not about me, then like I don't need to internalize it as such. I don't need to tell myself I'm doing something wrong. I don't need to start picking myself apart. I don't need to start questioning what could I have done. Like, I can see, okay, this person typically reacts this way with people in general, so it's not personal. This is just this person's way of being, and I don't like it, so I'm gonna move away. Or you can decide how you want to decide. But the lesson here is for you to recognize in those situations that you do have the ability to move away, and that the conflict is not, you can recognize when somebody is being sneaky and it's not about you. Like, look at this person. He's like looking back at these people with a smirk on his face. You know what I mean? And it's like, this is what you need. When you're looking at the situation, see this. Don't see it as, you know, what did I do wrong, or how could I have prevented that? However you analyze it to make it personal, that you might have done something wrong, or that you were in the wrong, or that you created this, whatever the situation is. Even if it is a situation where you've done that, you can be accountable and then move forward, because we're all human beings. But the lesson is to be able to look at the situation on a grander scale and truly see a person for their actions, their behavior, what they're doing, their projections. And instead of you personalizing it, so I'm going to go back to that. Spirit is leading me back to that example that I used in the beginning with parent A and parent B. You know, when parent A says, oh, you're going to go with parent B, man, I really wanted to, you know, hang out with you. Gosh, I'll be bored. I guess I'll find something to do. Instead of in that situation taking that as like, oh man, I'm hurting his feelings or her feelings by not, staying with that parent, or however you might have internalized that. Instead of internalizing that and making it personal, understand that that person is projecting. They are offloading their emotional responsibility onto you. That is the lesson of your lifetime in this experience that you are to learn, or that you have learned, or that you are learning, but that's what you were supposed to learn. That was the intended lesson of this experience. That's the kickstart. That's the intended lesson, is for you to be able to recognize in those situations where basically if you are being manipulated, and then to move on. And instead of judging yourself for the outcome of this and then playing further into this manipulation, recognize that it's manipulation, snip, snip, peace out. You know what I'm saying? Move on to better things. This guy he's like, nah, I don't want these cups. They're poisoned. They're tainted. This moon is uninterested. Like, what kind of secret? No, this is a no. He's like walking out of the water onto the ground. He's walking out of his emotional space. Because I'm assuming this is a man that's depicted on this car. But this is you. This is what you're learning. You're walking out of the emotional state of this and really grounding yourself grounding yourself, finding your center. connecting to your higher self, to your higher wisdom, being able to see the details of the situation and zooming out to see the bigger picture and take account. Take accountability, take account, be aware of yourself, be aware of the situation, of others, of the energy, and then make the decision. I'm out, or check it, or stay. It was just a miscommunication, misunderstanding, whatever. But being able to see the picture on a grander scale. That is that. So, I have also 2 cards here, which is how has this situation hindered you? And then how has this propelled you? Like, so you want it, how has this impacted your perspective and what you can release versus what you can embrace to move through this and really embody this lesson that was intended. So I'm going to read from the actual little booklet what it says here, because I think these things are so interesting. And then I'm going to pull just a final card for, I'm sorry, I'm kind of distracted because I'm just so fascinated. So I'm going to go ahead and get in. So the fish card here, before I read this, is a water card. That's the water symbol. So this is represented by the water, and then this one is air. And so it's exactly what I was saying. It's like move out of this emotional response, this emotional reaction, and move a little bit more into your logic, not in the way that you have been functioning in. And again, I'm not judging, not in a way that you are overthinking it, but be clear. This is a bird. I talked about being able to see the bigger picture. The birds are up high. If anything, they can see everything that's going in, and then they can swoop down to the bottom and see the details of what's going on. Like move from the fish. Okay, let me just read this here, because the fish is underwater. What can he see? He can't see what's going on the ground. You know what I mean? He can't see what's going on. And the fish, if I'm not mistaken, this represents like we're hiding our inner light. Okay, let me just read this. It says, fish, restlessness, change of focus, lost in the current. So this is what to release. It says, the fish loves to be subsumed in life's current. Nothing pleases it more than movement, and more movement. The roaming lifestyle of the fish may be exhilarating for a while, but usually leads to weariness and slippery relationships. And that's kind of what I was getting to, is like, I didn't mention this before, but like a constant need to distract or do something so that you don't have to look at this aspect within yourself, this shadow element within yourself, because then in doing so you would have to be accountable, and that sometimes we can judge ourselves even more. And if you're already judgmental of yourself, seeing where you might have contributed to a continuing problem, it's only going to perpetuate in your mind. It's only going to perpetuate the situation. So I'd rather not. This is what goes back to what I was saying about staying on the like the surface of the water, you know, staying in the, when water meaning like emotions. Okay. So you have, with all the possibilities out there in the vast waters, the fish becomes lost without clear goals and intentions. Spend some time with the lunar forces, dear fish, as the peace and calm of the moon will soothe your soul. All right, so what you want to move away from, it says, when out of balance, distracted, changes mind often. Exactly, that's what I was getting. A lot of like flip-floppy, indecisive energy. So to bring it to balance, you want to set a small goal and accomplish it. And I mean, it could be small. Like sometimes because I've been here. Trust me, I have been here. We can't talk, like, anyways, I'm about to go off on a side tangent, and I don't want to do that. I'm just going to say this really quick, though. Sometimes the reason I'm able to speak so clearly about some of these circumstances is because I, too, have experienced them myself, and this is one of those. So setting small goals. Sometimes the goal can be as small as, I don't know. It can be anything like getting to bed at a certain time or drinking a certain amount of water during the day. It could be using the bathroom a certain amount of times, because sometimes we get so busy that it's like, okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom after I finish this, and then something else comes. It's like, okay, next thing you know, you're like doing the potty dance, rushing to the bathroom. And so like even that could be a small goal, like, okay, make sure I go to the bathroom this many times in a day or this many times in an hour, or however. I don't really know why I felt the need to share that example. That's interesting. But it can be something as small as that. It can be even like setting a goal to write in the journal at the end of the day, even if your writing is, "Dear journal, I made it through the day. We'll try again tomorrow." Like, that's all I have. We'll try again tomorrow. I've had entries like that, you know? So just small goals. That's going to help you to like really, one, build confidence. I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's also going to help you to just come back to being adaptable and more confident in yourself, and therefore more confident in your ability to make decisions, right? Okay, so good job, pile one. All right, so now let's read the Vulture card, which is a fire sign. So this is what to continue to embrace. This is how this situation has helped you, what you have been able to solidify and establish within yourself that has helped you to move forward in life. And so this is what to lean more into and to continue to embrace. So it says, Vulture, guardian and purifier, essential for rebalance. The vulture is perhaps the most misunderstood creature of all, which I'm getting from you. Like, I'm getting that people, like I said, like, people would never know what goes on underneath the surface of you. Okay, this intriguing bird balances our ecosystem and prevents the spread of disease. It does the dirty work that no one else wants to do and cleans up our messes. The vulture appears when there's a situation that needs to be purified or brought back into balance. Remember, the vulture is greatly undervalued. What you thought was a mistake or tragedy is a blessing in disguise. So I'm just getting the vision, like, so you may know this. Vultures eat like dead animals, the carcasses on the sides of the road. And it's exactly like this says. It clarifies, it does the dirty work no one wants to do. It purifies our ecosystem. And that's what this is saying. Like, this, it's comparing this wound to the carcass. You have to be the vulture. Well, that's not what I'm trying to say, but it would be beneficial to really go through and just kind of like see it, pick it apart, you know what I'm saying? Clean it out of your own personal ecosystem and purify it, transmute it, transition that. Okay, so when in balance, clarifies, reveals wisdom, exactly. And to help to clear in the balance, you can actually physically clean your space, and sage, love some sage. Physically clean your space, help to, because actually, I don't know if you know that, pile one, but yes, if you feel like your energy has become stagnant, or maybe you can't really move out of a certain way of being, rearranging your home space or whatever space that you have, an office space, something, cleaning, organizing, rearranging, that really helps to get the energy moving again, and helps to your own personal energy and the energy of the space so that it can come in alignment, and then you can move forward in the direction that you are intending. So that is either what you have already begun to do or what you are encouraged to do. That is the quality to embrace to help move through this this state of being. And let's just do I want to do, I feel like that I was going to do a Moonology card, but let's just pull one. I was going to get a Moonology card and then pull it from the deck. I am feeling like okay. Here we go. Let's see what you have. You and your loved ones are safe. Yeah, the Cancer symbol, new moon in Cancer, that symbolizes the home state. So, all right, let's see what it says here. All right. It says there's a new start coming in your private life. Something is rising up in connection with the people and places you hold dearest. This can be to do with a member of your family, a flatmate, or moving house. If you're hoping to move forwards with something special in your private life, this card comes to you as a message that you can do it. If you've been neglecting your family, it's time to reconnect with them. If you've been neglecting yourself, you need to take better care of yourself and nurture yourself more. If your insecurity is holding you back, that's something for you to work on now. Doing so could bring you your heart's desire. So yeah, that's perfect. I feel like that goes exactly in line with what I was saying. And I don't know. I feel like I don't need to say anymore. I'm going to read this teachings part though. The teaching. The new moon in Cancer can be a super emotional time. The moon is all about emotions, and Cancer is a water sign and also very emotional. Saying that, the moon is very happy in the sign of Cancer. It's one of her 2 home signs along with Taurus. So wherever you pull it, this card suggests that whatever happens next will be in your favor. It's especially positive for family matters. How amazing, Pile 1. I love that ending for you. That's great. So, Pile 1, I hope that I was able to deliver this message in a way that you were able to receive it and that it didn't come off abrasive or curt. I really am trying to work on that. That's become a little bit of something that I've had to bring more awareness around. But anyways, this isn't about me. This is about you. Pile 1, thank you for joining me. If you did find anything that you liked here, if anything did resonate, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you found this helpful and you think someone else might benefit from that, please feel free to share this video as well. If you are returning from an old video, thank you for coming back. And if you are here for the first time, I hope to see you again in a future video. Bye, Pile 1. Okay, Pile 2. I had to pull another card to clarify what the core wound is here, because I wasn't quite, I don't know, I didn't want to jump the gun. But so I heard a couple things when I was shuffling. One of the things that I heard, the first thing that I heard was the song Unstoppable by Sia, specifically the line that says, I'll tell you what you want to hear, keep my sunglasses on while I shed a tear, never the right time, or something along those lines. But specifically I heard, I'll tell you what you want to hear, keep my sunglasses on while I shed a tear. So I heard that, and then as I was clarifying the core wound, I heard my daddy didn't love me, and I'm picking up on a feminine energy in this pile. So take that how that resonates, but let's get into it. So I don't necessarily, I guess a part of my confusion when I was pulling this is because, again, my intention when I first started was to give a voice to childhood wounds, and I haven't quite connected how this is associated with childhood. I feel like this is a core wound that is very active and very present today. And that's not to say that it's not a childhood, but let me just see what I have here. So this is a core wound though, that you have, Pile 2. So first of all, you have your throat chakra, which is overactive. You have yell or talks over others. And the energy that I'm getting from this pile is, Okay, so for the situation, I think that your childhood wound comes from a masculine figure, and I'm going to make the bold assumption that it is your father or father figure or parental guardian of some sort, and that this person was very opinionated and possibly controlling. The Four of Pentacles, when it first came out, I don't know if you saw that, but it came out in reverse. And so I'm reading the energy of it in reverse, but I like to look at it upright. So if that makes sense to you, it makes sense to you. But that's pretty indicative of a person that is pretty controlling and holding on too tightly and generally governed by some sort of materialism, some sort of material foundation, money, status, title, that type of thing. And I'm just getting the sense that possibly in your childhood, or maybe you feel like this currently in life, that the things that you want in life or what you find valuable specifically, it doesn't necessarily matter because you have the influence. Let me be clear. It's not that it doesn't matter. You feel that it is received as unimportant, that this particular masculine, I'm going to say father figure, views it as insignificant, and so in that way it doesn't matter because this person has a lot of influence and a lot of control over you and how you navigate your life, and they quite possibly are very aggressive in their communication with you, and maybe really like they might use a lot of, not bribe is not the word. It's not the word. A lot of what's it called when someone's like, when they try to hold something over you. Like if you say something that goes against them, they become really aggressive, and either they'll talk over you and shut you down and no, it's not going to work because I said so kind of thing. Or also it could be because you may be a Gemini, by the way. I'm just noticing like this number 2 here, which looks like the Gemini sign, and then also the 2 pentacles connected, which reminds me of the twins. So you may be a Gemini, or you may have Gemini in your chart, or this father figure may be a Gemini. Excuse me. Also the number 1 or 111 or 11 or 1111, that may be significant to you. That was standing out whenever I was, you also have the, okay, anyways, let me back up. So I was saying that, you may be a person that you may be a person that experiences that when it comes to this father figure. And so when I was shuffling the cards, I wasn't certain whether or not I felt like I was picking up feminine energy and a masculine. How can I explain this? You may be a person that identifies as male, that you are a male, you are a man, but you express yourself through the world in a more feminine way. And what that means, if you know anything about like the duality, masculine and femininity, it just means that you are more in the state of receptivity, of attracting, of creativity, of nurture, of softness, of flow, as opposed to the more masculine energy that is more like assertive, get it done, aggressive. They assert their dominance, their willpower, they're action oriented. They can tend to like force their way, their will. So this masculine energy that has had influence over your life, they are in their masculine energy. Now this could be a male or a woman. I'm getting a male, like a father, like a parental figure. And I'm getting that your energy, you may identify as a male, but have feminine energy in that way, that you attract and you're receptive and things like that. Things kind of just come to you effortlessly. And I'm feeling I'm just seeing that that's a part of this core wound, is that how can I say this? with you being around such a dominant masculine figure, either in childhood, again, I'm just, for the sake of the reading, I'm going to say childhood, but take it as it applies. I'm saying childhood because that was the intention of the reading. So this may just be where it started, and then it just kind of trickled on through life. Our experiences tend to have that type of a pattern. If we are supposed to be learning lessons that we're not, then we just recycle that same experience in different forms. So with different people, different relationships, whatever, until we learn what's happening in that situation and then do differently, then we'll learn a new lesson. And so I explain that to say that this may be from childhood through life. You may experience it now. Just take it as it resonates. But there's this masculine feminine that is very opinionated and has very sternly put his foot down about, I'm saying his because it's masculine energy, but very sternly put their foot down about how you should live your life. And they may have even communicated that directly to you. Like you don't, maybe in so many words that you don't really have a choice. And that you need to follow this particular path in order to whatever. I'm just getting the sense that, like I heard dangled a carrot. I'm just getting the sense that something was held over you, that it was like, okay, so now I'm just getting the vision of a donkey and a carrot where you have the carrot on a stick and you hold it over and the donkey's chasing the carrot. And like, it's almost like that's how you were treated. Where it's like, this is, and I'm just getting the sense that it was really reiterated and emphasized that like money is important, status is important, that without those you have nothing. And so your more feminine elements, like your creativity, the things that you value, was looked upon as less than, or not as important. I don't want to say less than, that it may have been received, or you may have interpreted as being looked at as less important than these other values that were so openly talked about and so openly reiterated. You might have even been told something along the lines of like, you need money for stability. Some messaging was given to you about the equivalence of money equaling value and stability. And like, if you don't do something, or you don't have a lot of money, or you don't make a lot of money, there's a lot of reiteration on money, and that being how you come about status in this world. But okay, so I'm getting that message heavy. And I'm also getting that like the things that you wanted for yourself, or the things that you value, you kind of had to put on the back burner, and you did. And maybe you looked at it a little bit longingly, like, I want to do that, but ultimately you ended up, it's like you had no, because this person's voice was so strong, it's almost like you had no voice. Not maybe in a literal sense, but I'm just getting like in the metaphor, or metaphor is not the right word. I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain. So because this person's voice was so strong, like you had no voice. And it's not that you didn't speak up. It's just that person their throat chakra was overactive. And I think that you might have personalized that as, like a fault of yours, for example. Or like that I think that, okay. So I'm just getting the sense that you might be a person that this situation led you to believe that you are not valuable, or that you're not important, or that you're not significant, or that you don't have what you want to contribute isn't worthy, or of attention, or of conversation, or of anything like that, because of how this person responded, how they interacted. And this is also, what I'm about to say is also messaging of pile 1. So if you felt drawn to that, maybe something in there resonates, but I'm just getting that same messaging again, where one of the things that for pile 1 was to look at the situation as a whole. And so if in a situation like this, where this father figure shut you down and overspoke when you were trying to explain whatever you were trying to explain about yourself, your likes, whatever, you may have taken that as you being the reason or the motive behind that type of response. I did something wrong, or I'm bad, or I'm not valuable, or he doesn't love me. Like, you might have personalized that. Where really what you should be doing, what the advice for pile one was, is to take a step back in that situation and see, does that person interact with other people like that? Maybe other masculine energies, or like if it's your father, does he react to other children in that way? Maybe if it's like the same sex, like if you are a male, for example, does he respond to your brothers in that way, or in any other masculine? Like, take a look to see if there are patterns in that behavior. If so, that's a good way to acknowledge and to see where you don't need to personalize that. This is not to judge or say what's right or wrong, but where you are personalizing this, where you may have been personalizing it as you are doing something wrong, or you're in the wrong, or whatever the situation is, and that person is looking at you as less than because of something you're doing, it's not. This is that person's way of being. Again, this is not to say anything is right or wrong. This is just to say, like, really look and see, is this a situation that you should be personalizing it as you, or whether you can say, okay, this is this person's issue and this is how he's perceiving it, and I agree with it or I disagree with it or whatever. But in doing so, it's going to allow you to interact with that person in a way where you can then clearly see that person and check them on that. And you don't have to respond in a way that's so passive and submissive or so feminine. You can step into then your masculine energy, where you can then assert yourself and do so with confidence and respect and in whatever way. By no means am I telling you what to do. I'm offering a perspective, and this is the cards are suggesting. Okay, anyways, I don't need to explain. I mean, I think at this point you understand what I'm saying, but let me move on. Okay, so because of this situation, I asked, how have you interacted with the world? Well, I'm just getting the sense that, yes, this person was very opinionated. This masculine energy, this father figure was very opinionated, and they had like a roadmap of how you live your life. And I'm getting that you were pretty good at abiding by that. And sorry, guys, I'm getting that you were pretty good at abiding by that, and without really a lot of pushback, because it wasn't, yes, you had to sacrifice yourself, and I'm not saying that is like, oh, no big deal. Yes, you had to sacrifice yourself. On the other hand, you also received a lot in that process, and in doing so, you approach the world almost a little bit entitled, as though you are that things should just come to you easily. I'm just getting the sense that maybe your father might have been, this father figure might have been I'm saying father figure, it's a masculine energy. So it could have even been like, just take it how it resonates. I just want to make sure that we're not getting too caught up on like the labeling or how I'm describing it, because I'm just talking about energy. I'm not talking about people specifically. And I hope that makes sense. I hope that that's understandable. So this masculine energy, they might have been the problem solver. Like, you go to them, or even if you didn't go to them, they might have asked, let's say you wanted to do something and they knew you were getting ready to do something, and maybe you had a problem, where you might have been like, okay, yes, I had this problem, I solved it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. This masculine figure might have been like, okay, so what happened? How did it go? Like, give me the details. Okay, that happened. Oh, you had this issue, and then why didn't you call me? Okay, well, next time, this is how you handle it. Like, they were very assertive in that way, where it's like you had no room to not only like really well, you can make choices for yourself, but it's like you had no room to allow that to play out, to really let consequences unfold, because if the consequences got too bad, where it might have come back on I'm just getting like hardcore, like Italian traditions, like if it were to bring shame to the family, they would have stepped in before then to solve the issue. And so like your ability to problem solve, it's not that it's not there, it's there. You have the ability to problem solve. It's just that it's the way that you solve problems now is heavily influenced by the interaction of this father figure growing up. So now where you don't need that you don't need to go to this father figure, or you don't need that father figure telling you. Like, that voice of that father figure is constantly in the back of your head. So whether you are like literally talking to him, or whether it's just that subconscious programming telling you, turn left here, turn right there, go straight there, don't do this, don't do that, da da da, this will look bad. Like, that's constantly, it's like a tape that's what I'm getting right now, is that like it's a tape that's constantly running on in a loop in the back of your head. So whether this person is present or not, the voice of that person is always in the back of your mind, helping you make the decision. And so because of that, like, you have stepped out, it's like you expect the way that you interact with the world is that you the way that you view the world is like the world, it's like I'm just kind of getting the way that you view the world is, I heard the world is your oyster. Like, it's like it's like I don't know if entitlement is the word. I'm just getting kind of two energies. It's kind of like there's like there's no sense of consequence in the way that you interact with the world, the way that you view the world. I think because of the way consequences were kind of like held at bay for you, or cleaned up for you. And so you interact with almost this fearlessness. I'm just getting that I heard untouchable. Like, you kind of interact with the world as if you are untouchable. And in doing so, there's no creativity. It's like, I'm just getting the sense, boredom. Like, your energy feels very bored. It's just kind of like like whatever you may have wanted that is in line with, so, okay, it's like whatever you may have wanted. All right, this is the timeline. It's like you were born, you have a parent, this masculine energy, who says, okay, so now what I'm seeing is like the scene from The Lion King, where he's like, anything that touches the light is yours. Don't go into the shadows, whatever, right? And that's you. You are, hold on one second. You are Simba. So you are the person, like, you're to be king, right? And then, so you're like, yes, let me run around. I could do whatever I want, like in this light area. This is how you're navigating through your life, because that's what's in line with what your father said you can do. Anything outside of that you wanted, you just put it to the wayside. Like, at first it's kind of like, oh, that's no valuable. But eventually you got to the point where you're like, all right, well, that's a no, so I'm just not gonna be able to do that. Or maybe you put it off, like, maybe I'll be able to do it when I'm older, when I'm a certain age, or when I get to this point, or when I have this status or whatever. But the priority became this masculine figure's vision of your life. That was the priority, and that's what you followed. And in that, there was a lot of like protection, status, a lot of, you are the prince. So anything you do in that land, like, yes, your dad may have, what's his name? Is it Mufasa? The king will have a conversation with you, but was there really any real consequence? You know what I'm saying? And so that's how you've navigated the life. That's how you navigated your life. So now you've gotten to the point where that's how you see the world, where it's almost like inconsequential. Like, you can kind of just do whatever because it's gonna work out and it'll be fine anyway, and nothing comes back on you. But in that process, you've lost creativity when it comes to like problem solving or approaching situations that is in the area outside of the light, that's in the shadow. When it comes to and that can be like internally with yourself, that can be in interactions with other people in the world, in a relationship with like businesses, just however you engage in general. Like, you've lost the creativity, whether it's like problem solving or interacting with people, spontaneity, creativity within yourself, generating new ideas. That's not like something that's already, how can I explain this? Like, something that maybe might have already been suggested by like social media, or by, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, So yeah, like that. You might have also been like sexually promiscuous, or you might be a person that is promiscuous. It's pretty like, it's very like, give me, give me, give me. That's the energy. Please let me just reiterate, I'm not judging, I'm just reading what's here in the cards and how this has played out and impacted you. So when it comes to how you see yourself, you are happy with yourself. Like you look at yourself like there's no problem, but it's wild because it's like I feel like it's like you look at yourself like you are the world, because that's how you have been brought up, that you are the world. You know what I'm saying? I just heard his only begotten son. So you might be the only son or an only child. And so your treatment in being raised in that way, being either the only son or the only daughter or the only child, it's like you got everything. You didn't have to share that. The problem in that is, if you look at this card, you see how this dragon is eating his own tail. So it's like, it's how do I explain this? Like, it's like you see, like, this is what you're used to. This is the status quo. This is your everyday mundane way of being. Like, it's like, I'm cool with this. This is what I know. This is how it's been. And you're not looking at the fact that, like, you're eating your own tail. You're not looking at how you are hindering yourself by remaining in this way of being. And I don't know, this might be, I'm just noticing like the infinity symbol here, the infinity symbol there. And then I also heard what goes around comes around. So you might be in a cycle. This might be like a karmic lesson or karmic experience. You might be in a cycle of experiencing the karma of like getting so much, but at the sacrifice of yourself. And so you may, and when I say karma, I don't mean like, I have a more holistic approach to that. I don't mean like something bad is going to happen to you because you did bad. No, I'm just saying like the lesson of sacrificing yourself to build upon somebody else's vision. The karma of that you may be experiencing. And by karma, I mean you may be encountering a lot of interactions or life experiences that is going to push you into the energy of using your voice and prioritizing yourself and what you want over what somebody else wants for you. That's the karma that you, so I don't know the details. It's going to be different for everybody of how that actually plays out, but like you may have been or are or will be experiencing those type of situations that's going to force you. It's going to make you feel, you're going to recognize that you're eating your tail. You're going to be like, what, this fucking hurts. Like, what am I even doing? You know what I'm saying? So you can then flip the scales and then prioritize yourself, your own vision, instead of sacrificing yourself for someone else's vision. You can sacrifice someone else's vision for you. I just keep being drawn to this 111, and one is about like initiation, leadership. It's about like taking the leap of faith. Well, anyways, so yeah. All right, so let's move on. So the other question that I asked was, what is the intended lesson? And that's basically what I just summarized here with that. You have the Seven of Swords and the Ace of Wands. So this, okay, I mentioned earlier that you might have been like a more promiscuous person. And I'm just getting some sexual energy here. I mean, this Ace of Wands, if we can be frank, is known as the boner card. And then Seven of Swords is like the card of sneaky communication. So I don't know. Maybe that means something to you, but I don't really. Oh, maybe this has to do with a relationship. I don't see any Cups card here, but maybe this has to be with the relationship. And it could even be like the relationship with yourself. The lesson is to be like, it's not sneaky about these new passions. It's just like there's a saying, it's like, what is that quote? Oh my God. Okay. It's like, don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. it's that energy where it's like learning how to navigate, like when to hold information, when to keep some information, and when to give some, what to give and what not to give. Like everybody doesn't have to know everything. And I'm getting that specifically. It's like I'm getting word vomit now. It's like whenever you are in the presence of this masculine energy, like you can't help but to like, even it's just like their sheer presence, like you just kind of vomit out like all of your business. You know what I'm saying? Even like when you're like, God, I said I wasn't going to do that, or I didn't want to do that anymore. I swore I wasn't going to. Like you might need to put some distance between you and this masculine energy. And that does so take that however that applies for you. It could just be like distance in communication or space, time, whatever, however that works out for you, you may need some distance. But the intended lesson is to learn with what type of people and when to divulge information and when to keep some information, and to recognize within yourself where you are sacrificing yourself, like specifically in these relationships, or where you're sacrificing your passions. And if it's an important relationship to you, you can maintain that relationship, but you don't have to divulge it. Like you don't have to. Because, okay, so now I'm being brought back to, remember when I said, like, you might have been in situations where, like, you were designated to handle something, and then you would come back, and then this masculine energy would ask you, well, how did it go, da-da-da-da-da, and they would just kind of assert their control. You should do it this way next time, and that. It's like that. That's the energy that I'm being back. So it's like, know when those situations are about when you are triggered, like when you are in those type of triggering situations. And if it's with this specific masculine energy, know that, like be able to recognize that and practice and learn when to pull back information and when to divulge and what to divulge if you were to divulge it at all. Okay, so let me just keep this moving here. I feel like this reading is gonna be a long one, and it might have to be a two-parter. But anyways, okay, so I also asked how has this situation like impacted you? Like how has it impacted your character in a more hindering way? Like what is it that you need to release? And then also, how has this propelled you forward? Like what elements or what aspects within yourself can you continue to embrace, or can you learn to embrace to help you navigate through this lesson? So I'm just going to read this from here. So you have the starfish. It says, beautiful, alluring, superficial, or shallow. The starfish is a natural and exquisite beauty, mesmerizing to all. Being around someone with starfish energy is a thrill, like you've been put under a spell of divinity itself. The problem is, these creatures have been reliant on how they look and what other people think of them. For so long, they may have forgotten their deeper calling. When this card appears, it's important to ask, am I being swayed by outward appearances? What dreams have I put aside to please others? Exactly. So it says that when you are out of balance, you might be gossipy or feel empty. And to bring this back into balance, surround yourself with positive friends. And so that pretty much summarizes exactly what I was explaining, where it's like you've sacrificed yourself for the sake of what other people think of you, but specifically I'm getting this masculine figure, and for the sake of status, like your image, and how you think the world might see you. So moving on to a more positive, a more light topic here. Let's take a look at the stingray. All right, so this is what you can embrace. It says developing confidence, sense of self, or spine. Exactly what I was saying. Like no one, exactly. Okay, so let me read. The stingray card represents a pivotal point in personal growth. The moment has come when the stingray must decide between the old, easy, comfortable, and familiar, and the new, challenging, uncomfortable, and unfamiliar. Pressure from family and friends makes the decision even more complicated. No matter what choice is made now, inevitable that this dilemma will surface again and again, as the force of dharma growing within the stingray is too strong to ignore. When in balance, eager wants to grow. And what you can do to help you to be in balance is to move through the discomfort. So basically it's like tackle this head on. Tackle this head on. Exactly that. You got it, homie. I believe in you. So yeah, all right. So let me just go ahead and pull a Moonology card. And we will wrap this baby up. Pile 2. Oh, okay. All right. Well, so you have 2. That's cool. All right. You and your loved ones are safe. I also got that one for pile 1. So you might be drawn to pile 1. No pressure. But if you choose to, run back and check that out. And then you also have work through your fears, new moon in Scorpio. So you have a lot of new moon energy, a lot of bringing in, a lot of newness. All right, you and your loved ones are safe. It says there's a new start coming in your private life. Something is rising up in connection with the people and places you hold dearest. This can be to do with a member of your family, a flatmate, or moving house. If you're hoping to move forward with something special in your private life, this card comes to you as a message that you can do it. If you've been neglecting your family, it's time to reconnect with them. If you've been neglecting yourself, you need to take better care of yourself and nurture yourself more. If your insecurity is holding you back, that's something for you to work on now. Doing so could bring you your heart's desire. So that is a lovely pile number 2. Let me go to New moon in Scorpio. Okay, work through your fears. New moon in Scorpio. I think this goes along with like the stingray. This card suggests a rebirth. Think of your situation as the phoenix that's rising from the ashes, as the birth, death, rebirth paradigm. That's what Scorpio energy is all about. Whatever you've been through, there's a new start ahead. It may be a little dark. It almost certainly won't be rainbows and unicorns, but it will be deep and transforming. This card also suggests that if you know you are magical, then this is the time to work your magic. It can also herald the start of a sexier time if you've been experiencing something of a drought. And emotional intimacy is also on the menu. Scorpio is the sign that likes to go deep into the body, mind, and spirit. So when this card comes up, there's nothing superficial about what's coming your way. Let's see what the teachings say. The teaching. Scorpio is the sign of death and rebirth, magic and shamans. Its energy is a little bit dark, occult, even scary. Not all of us like to face the shadow, but Scorpio demands it. In fact, it's through working through your dark side that you can get to the light. And the new moon in Scorpio, and the appearance of this card at any other time, suggests you need to do that now. Oh, I love that so much, but I'm biased. I'm a Scorpio, so I feel that energy. I mean, I can't help but to feel it, like it is me. So hit me in my messages, in my inboxes, if you would like some help with this. I, as a person with heavy Scorpio, I'm all about diving into the shadows, judgment free. But I hope something here resonated with you, pile 2. If it did, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you felt like someone else might benefit from this reading, please feel free to share it. If you are returning from a previous video, thank you for coming back. And if this is your first time here, I hope to see you in a future video. Thank you, pile 2. Bye. Okay, pile number 3. Okay. Pile number 3. I feel that's interesting that I just said free and I was totally trying to say 3. But I feel I don't know. I can't quite identify it. I feel like a mix of emotions. I can't quite identify what is happening exactly. I'm tapping into your energy, by the way. Let me just back up and be clear. I'm tapping into your energy, and I can't quite identify what exactly it is. Sorry, you guys. I got a call. I'm so sorry about that. The energy feels very, I was gonna like sporadic, chaotic. It kind of all over the place. It feels a little unstable. It feels a little like darty. It's like I don't know if I feel like I want to cry, or if I feel like anxious and nervous, or if I feel like I need to just like take a deep breath and get it together. It feels kind of like all over the place, very unsteady. I don't even, and there's also like this element of exhaustion that I feel, where it's like even wanting to even trying to explain this to you, it's like I don't even have the energy. I don't have the capacity. I heard defeated. So maybe that's how you're feeling. I don't know if this is necessary. This has a little more energy than when I have like the defeated that I have felt if there was ever a moment I felt defeated, I didn't even have this much like energy or breath even. It's like I feel very breathless. I feel very exhausted, but not, it's like I'm having a hard time catching my breath. I'm having a hard time like breathing. Catching up is what I heard. It's like I'm having a hard time catching up. So let's get into this. Okay, so we are giving a voice to your to core wounds. And what it's showing here is what I'm getting here is that your core wound, which is the intention of this reading is for it to come from child, is to talk about, listen, my brain is so scattered right now, tapping into your energy. It's like I cannot pinpoint anything. I cannot like focus or stay on one thing. And so I don't know if this is the energy of what you felt in your childhood or if this is what you are feeling currently. So I'm just going to ask you to bear with me, pile 3, because navigating through this energy is a little bit of a challenge, because I can't quite, like, I'll get something and then it's like I'm distracted, or I'll lose it and then I'll get something else. And so like pinpointing this down and being able to read through this, I want to take my time, and I'm going to, but I'm just asking that you bear with me a little bit here, because I mean, even like if you were to see me right now, even the position that I'm in, like I'm like resting my weight on my hands, leaning forward, just kind of like holding myself up. That's the energy. It's like I need to hold myself up, like, or I need something to hold myself up. It's very weak. I'm not calling you weak. Please, I hope that this isn't offensive. I just want to remind you again that I'm just giving a voice to childhood wounds, and I was asked very clearly by my guides to step out of my emotional body and just communicate what they give to me directly, and that's that. So I'm not calling you weak, and please, I'm not judging you or your situation. I'm just explaining the energy that I'm tapping into. But I feel weak. I feel like out of breath, and just physically like holding myself up. It feels like a task. Thinking through, going through this reading, it's like I can see it, but to elaborate that to you and give the details, it already feels mentally exhausting. That's the energy that I'm tapping into right now. So let's try to get into it. I just want to ask you again to bear with me as I read through this. I'm not sure how effortless this might come out. So, okay, for your core wound, your childhood wound, I'm getting that you may have traveled around a lot as a kid. Maybe you had like an unstable home environment. You may have only had one parent that was active and involved, and that parent was unstable theirself. And so having a consistent home environment may not be something that you have experienced. That's what I'm showing, is that there was a lot of moving around, and maybe even so, like the intention of that moving around was to find better, to be better, it's like, how can I describe this? You know, like you're in a terrible situation, your family, like your parent, I'm getting one parent, but it could have been both. I'm heavily getting that you might be a child of a single parent, or of a divorce, a separation, but that you were mainly with one parent, and that one parent struggled to manage on their own. to provide some kind of stability for you. And so there was a lot of moving around, maybe with family members, maybe with friends, maybe you might have even experienced living in a homeless shelter, or being homeless in general, in whatever sense, whatever way that makes sense to you. And it's like, what I'm getting is that you never really found, because that wasn't given to you as an example for stability or how to like create that like stability, I keep getting stability, that you had a very chaotic childhood. There was a lot of inconsistency, moving around. Yes, okay, so the energy that I was tapping into, it was like there were so many, it's like so many, I want to say fires would like pop up, and maybe you weren't necessarily even responsible for handling it, but you were so close, like maybe it was your mother or your father, whatever parent you were with, who was constantly trying to figure out. It's like they were trying to solve one problem, and then another problem came up, so they had to put their attention to that, and then another problem came up, so they had to put their attention to that. And there was a lot of like bouncing around and moving, and like nothing really was concrete or stable or complete, is what I heard. Like, it's like Band-Aid solutions. It's like you have a leaky pipe and you just tie a cloth around it, you know what I mean? And you're like, well, that'll hold off, but then you have another, like a drippy like a leak in the roof, so you're like, okay, well, let me put a bucket over here. And it's a lot of that. It's a lot of like Band-Aid fixes and moving around, because there's so much that just kept coming in. It was like one issue after the other. And again, you may not have as a child, you may not have necessarily been the person to that was responsible for that in a direct way. So what I mean by that is that you may not have had your parent outright directly say, I need you to handle this, or I need you to take care of this, but you took on the burden of that. You took on the responsibility of that, because that impacted your nervous system. And suddenly, I think that hit something for you, pile 3, because I suddenly just felt all up in my heart chakra and throat chakra, like I could cry out. That's how I feel. And so it's like you have been carrying this emotional burden of having to put out fires, but also it's more than that. It's like your nervous system is shot. It's like you can't let your guard down. You can't breathe. That's the feeling. It's like you can't even breathe, because if you take a moment to yourself to even try to just like, even that would be too much of, it's like in your mind, even doing that is a risk, because you're letting your guard down. There's a relaxation in that, and like to relax means that there's a possibility that something can slip through the cracks or something can fall apart, and you have to be alert and on go all the time. And it has made you exhausted in your physical body, in your energetic body, in your mental body. You are experiencing burnout, pile 3. I feel it so clearly in my energy. And right now I have chills, which is a very clear sign from my guides that that's confirmation. Like, I am hitting the nail on the head. You are feeling extreme burnout. And this is something that I'm getting, you may have recently recognized it as that. Since this is something from childhood, it's like this has been a constant pattern in your life, this way of being, this way of constantly having to like, it's like you're juggling and you have all of these glass plates and you're just trying to keep up and make sure none of these glass plates hit the ground. And you cannot stop, because if you stop, the glass plates will fall. And then what happens when the glass plates fall? They shatter. Now people are at risk of getting cut. And, obviously this is a metaphor, but that's how you've been navigating through life since childhood, because that is how you learned to function, and you did not learn another way as a child, of course. So as you have grown up, and which I'll get into that, as you've grown up, you have learned through experiences. And you may actually now be in a phase where you're recognizing the extreme burnout, and you're like, I think it makes you very, very sad, but it's not, sad isn't even the right adjective, because sad, it's like, oh gosh, what's the word to describe this? How can I even describe this energy? I'm saying sad because it's like the way you express this release is through tears, but it's not, it's like, you're recognizing it's like okay, so when I was saying defeated earlier, it's not even defeated. It's like surrender. That is the word. It's surrender. It's, I cannot fight this fight anymore. I cannot hold on to these things anymore. I cannot keep going in this manner anymore. I physically cannot. I emotionally cannot. I mentally cannot. On a soul level, this is not fulfilling. I literally cannot anymore. And the slightest thing that feels like it would be detrimental to me, that would take me out, like, I'm just not even interested in it. Like, I can't. I surrender that. I give that up. Like, you handle it. By you, I mean like the divine spirit. You know what I mean? It's like, yes. Okay, so we're going to move down into this because you have, well, let me just go ahead and do that because you have, this is how you're seeing yourself. You have the Two of Cups and strong faith. So I feel like you're at a point where you're, I heard riding on the back of spirit. Like, you are letting spirit take you. And then you have the Six of Swords here, which is moving from turbulent waters into a calmer way. It's like you have realized your entire existence has been, oh my God, what is a phrase that I can like really captivate this? You have been, okay, I cannot even think of a phrase. That's how like extremely burnt out you are. Where I think that you are, that's what you're experiencing. Where you normally have the mental capacity to keep up. Vocabulary words might be a thing that you feel like that you are typically good at, but maybe it's like words can't come to you explaining a situation. Maybe you might feel like the way that you communicate is not the way that it used to be. Like you're not articulating the way that you used to, something with words, something with like just speech in general. It's like if your brain, it's like locked up, you know, like you cannot articulate or clear, like where you might have even a simple situation that you might have been able to find a resolution for. Like, let's say I don't know, just a simple situation where it's like, oh, all you have to do is flip this switch and then turn this lever and you're good. Like, even coming up with that solution it's like, it takes it out of you. It's a lot. It's exhausting. And it's just like, just forget it. Like, if you can't figure it out, just don't even worry about it. I don't even have the energy to explain it to you. And it's not that whoever you might be explaining it to or whatever the situation is that you need, it's not that is a burden. It's not that person or that thing or that situation is demanding so much of you. It's that you just do not have it to give. So if it's not effortless, you're like, I can't. And it's like, you're not trying to be pessimistic or have a defeatist attitude. You're not trying, it's like complete surrender. You're just like, whatever anybody thinks about the situation or however you're not interested in, like, you are in a, I need to get me right phase is what I'm getting. That's how you are seeing yourself and interacting with yourself. Like, you are, it's like everything that you're doing is going through the divine. Your prayer, your meditation, whatever your process is, journaling is like I think that you're a person that maybe has like really curbed your impulsivity as of late. Because even just making a decision, like a fallout of the wrong decision would be too much to you. So I'm just getting that you may even feel, if you, I just felt like I felt sad. I think that you also may feel like people are judging you, or you might feel a little bit judged. I think that you're not in a space where you feel very, very self-confident, I think that you might be dealing with some low self-esteem right now because you're just so tapped out from like constantly going and trying. And I think this feels very divinely orchestrated, to be honest with you. It feels like you have been running this way in life for so long, and finally it's like you have got to see that this is not how life is supposed to work. You are giving way more than you need to. And so the way that things have worked out, like things that have fallen apart in your life, and I'm just heavily getting that there are a lot of, like, you put your effort into okay, going back, so I'm just seeing the plate analogy again. It's like you put all of your effort into holding these glass plates up. You like have your net and your stick with your net, and you're doing everything. And no matter how much you've planned or how much effort you put into or how many problems you tried to solve before you got to the point of it being a problem, no matter how much effort you put into it, the plates still come crashing down. And I think that you are taking this, you may be personalizing this as you did something wrong. Like you're taking this and you're like, I did all the things. How did the plates fall? Like I had this in place. I did this. I put this effort. I made sure I had my energy drink. I didn't take a nap. Like I have this net here. I had a backup. I have a camera. Like you had all the things and you're like, how in the hell did this fall? And there's not, because it was meant to, is the answer. It was meant to. So that you can see that, yes, the plates have fallen. But you're fine. Like it's difficult. Yes, it's probably is nerve-wracking to your nervous system because you're so used to like your nervous system is so shot from being on high alert all the time from not having these glasses fall. Because what does that mean for you? Well, your subconscious programming from childhood means that if a glass falls, there's going to be some sort of instability. And that may lead to an experience that you had in childhood, maybe homelessness or moving from house to house, or like poverty, experiencing poverty, maybe not having clothes, just whatever the situation is. So do you understand what I'm explaining? So you've seen the worst of it. And so like your energy for your life has gone full speed ahead to try to keep you from going back to that. And you're not realizing that that's like the lack mentality. And I'm not judging you or blaming you. And the reason why you had that is because that's what you've seen. That's what you know. That's what you've experienced. We only know what we know. And so in order for you to be able to see or know something different and to embrace something different and to be able to navigate differently, the plates had to come crashing down so that you can see that when the plates come crashing down, you'll be okay. Like, okay, I see. So this is like to make way for the divine, because you were trying to solve and do everything on your own. Okay. So you have gotten so used to being the problem solver. And by you doing that and constantly trying to be ahead of every problem, you're not leaving room for the divine to step in and show you that you don't even have to do anything. However the universe, divine, God, whatever higher source that you relate to, or that however you call it, however you label it, doesn't matter. The point is, by you constantly being in that state, it didn't allow room for the divine to come in and show you that you don't have to hold on so tightly. Like they got it. You know what I mean? Like it's easier than that. It's more effortless than that. You don't have to navigate through life with your immune system. Excuse me, not your immune system. But you might actually be a person where your immune system is impacted as well. I heard digestive system. So you may be having like gut and tummy issues. Our immune system is in our gut. So you might be a person that if that gets sick or has gotten sick. I'm hearing like coughs. So maybe you might have had a cough for a little while. Something like in your chest, possibly like a rattling, some sort of illness you might have been experiencing. Yeah, and so that's how you've been navigating your life. That's how you've been interacting with the world, is this like so that's what I'm getting to, is like you I don't think that you felt safe to let anybody else step in to be a problem solver, because anytime you did rely on anybody to be a problem solver, it didn't work out. It failed. It was not reliable, which means that puts you closer than you would have liked to be to being back in that unstable environment. So you just kind of like kept to yourself in that way when you would have a problem. It's like, I got it. I'll handle it. Don't worry about it. Like, I can do it myself. That's what I heard. I can do it myself. You might be a person that says that. Like, just never mind. I can do it myself. But I think the situation is really like tested and strengthened your relationship with the divine, with the universe, with yourself, with your own self is what I'm getting, with your power, with your higher self, with your ability to manifest. That's what I heard. So the intended lesson here, what I'm getting is, well, so when I was shuffling, what I heard was boss up. And it's not boss up in, so what I feel is like your ability to attract. It was intended to teach you about your ability to attract, to manifest. To be able to step to the side and let the divine come in and nurture you, care for you. And it was also meant to teach you independence, but not in the way that not independence in the way that you've been navigating, where you're like, I can do it myself. Yes, you can do it yourself. So partly it was meant to show you, like, yes, you are capable of doing it yourself. But there are multiple, okay, how can I explain this? It's like, there are multiple routes to success. I'm just heavily getting that the intended lesson was for you to, I heard step into your bosshood. I don't know why I keep hearing, so I don't know what that means for you. Maybe you might have recently took on an entrepreneurial endeavor, started a business, or started, like, pursued your own passion, something like that, where it's like you are going to make yourself. You don't want to rely on other people or the outside world or whatever to provide for you. You don't trust it because, like, again, going back to childhood, when your own parent was supposed to, and this is not to judge your parent, this is just the subconscious belief that has been embedded in you. It's like, if my own parent cannot even step up and provide for me, how can I trust that this stranger, this man or this woman, this person I'm in a relationship with, my friend, whoever, fill in the blank, how can I trust that they are going to step up and be reliable and stable? And anytime that something looks like it's unstable, you're like, I just heard, like, the flip is switched. Like, you're like, nope, I got it. I know now, like, going forward, I probably can't rely on you or ask you for anything because, like, I can't trust you. Like, that's your energy. It's like, I can't trust you. And it's not, I don't necessarily know that is accurate. Sometimes it may be. Maybe you can really pick up on when you can't trust it, but I'm feeling that that's more of like a defense mechanism on your part, which may have to do with we'll get into this too, like how this has hindered you, but I'm getting that might be a part of this, that, like, it has hindered your ability to really create the life that you want to build, because sometimes in doing that, you need other people to contribute to that. You think about when you're building a house. Yes, you probably could, if you had all of the knowledge and all of the things, you probably could build a house completely on your own. Imagine how long that would take. Or you can build a house and you can get a contractor. You have to get your electrician. You have to get, a carpenter. You have to get, I've never built a house, so I don't freaking know. But there are other people that come in and kind of help you out. You know what I'm saying? And, like, you are still running the show. You're still building, creating the life that you want. But there are other people that come in and contribute to help you And so it's like you because of this situation, you have been functioning that's not even a real thing, that you cannot rely on that, you cannot depend on that. So you just do it yourself. But let me actually, while I'm here, let me just go ahead and pull that open. Excuse me. So this is, I think, fire. Oh, right there. Okay. It says, at a crossroad, claiming life's purpose. Okay. The tarantula represents a moment when a great decision must be made. It involves prioritizing your life's deeper purpose or dharma. A habit or routine from the past is sidetracking you from your dream. Yet a voice inside keeps begging you to refocus your attention. In order to find true happiness, you must choose dharma. Until you do, satisfaction will be fleeting. The tarantula hovers, patient and calm, like an old friend that knows your inner soul. It already knows you'll choose wisely. That's what I was saying. It's like you, because of your past, this is how it's holding you back, because you feel like you have to do things on your own. And it's keeping you and because that's how you've been approaching life, it's exhausting you. It's exhausting you, so you don't get to experience the fulfillment of life and what you can attract, what the abundance that you can tap into, because you're so focused on not letting or you have been in the past so focused on not letting the glass plates fall. Does that make sense? Instead of like maybe going through and prioritizing, what glass plates do you even need? Do you need to juggle all of these? Maybe you only need 3. And then if you only need 3, can you have someone step in to juggle it while you go and do whatever, and then you can come, you know what I'm saying? All right, so when it's out of balance, which that's what this side is, hesitates, over-intellectualizes. To bring it into balance, daily journaling. And I think that you probably are already doing that in some degree. Maybe it's not journaling, but there's some sort of way that you are reconnecting to yourself. So again, this might be through meditation. I heard yoga. You could be journaling, praying, setting intentions, I heard. You're figuring out your way to reconnect with yourself, and it's more than reconnecting with yourself. It's like you're reconnecting with the divine through exploring yourself, through your internal reflection. Okay, and then 2 came out for how has this propelled you? Like, what can you embrace? So I really think that this taught you a lot. So let's just see. You have 2 earth elements. So I think that you've probably really learned a lot about like grounding. All right, the rabbit. It says, yes, that's okay. I don't know why this is like what to embrace though. Okay, let me just read it, because I feel like this is more. Let me just read it. It says, afraid of everything, overwhelmed, frozen. The rabbit loves to remind his friends that someday the eagle will swoop down and eat him. He talks and talks and talks about it so loudly, in fact, that one day the eagle hears and thanks him for the great idea. Rabbit energy is alive when we are scared, most often about the future. Exactly. And we become our own worst enemy. We spin up a dust cloud of fear. I'm sorry, I can't see very well. The lighting is terrible, so I probably sound like very inarticulate. We spin up a dust cloud of fear and then complain to others that we are lost. Notice your thoughts and words, oh rabbit. They shape your destiny. So this says, when in balance, sensitive, problem solver, good listener. When out of balance, over explains, talks fast. There's a lot of over explaining energy. Which is interesting, because like in the beginning, the energy that I was getting was like, it's like too exhausted to even explain. To bring into balance, a day of silence. So, all right, let's see what the raccoon says. The raccoon says, talented, shadowy, and hiding. All right, raccoon energy is at play within all artists to greater or lesser degrees. At best, it indicates talent, tenacity, and skillfulness with a particular musical instrument or creative tool. Its shadow side points to an unresolved issue around self-image and success. Exactly. Sometimes using a stage name or wearing a mask works in an artist's favor. Other times, it limits creativity. Am I who my audience thinks I am? What if I am ready to grow into something more? Raccoon energy won't let us off the hook until the creative ego fear is resolved. It says, when in balance, generous friend, exceptional artist. Out of balance, competitive, starving artist. To bring into balance, make new work. I think that this is this is like what to embrace. And I feel like, remember I was telling you, it's like you're reconnecting with yourself. I feel like what this is saying is like, this is what you're in the process of doing, is reconnecting to these more positive attributes of these animals, which is, again, the generous friend, exceptional artist. Because I feel like you are that person. You've been this person. When you feel stable, when you feel like you have things you have like a routine, and you have your process, your productivity, whatever that looks like for you, when you feel like you are in flow, or however you would label it, like this is how you are: sensitive, problem solver, good listener. But because it's like you hit a wall where it's like, God, this is not working for me anymore. This is not working. It's exhausting. I am burnt out. And it kind of like catapulted you into like the negative elements of this, but this is what you're getting back to, the more positive, the more in balance elements of these things. You know, where it's like, that's what I'm getting. Like, this situation, recognizing like this core wound, you might have actually been in the process of healing this core wound, and that's why you've been triggered back into this so deeply, and that's why you have this feeling of burnout, because it's like you're catapulted, your energy, and the body stores memory. So even though like our mind might forget, the body, when we tap, that's how triggers work, because our body responds to situations that we have encountered in the past. It remembers. Even though we might have forgot it happened, our body remembers. And so when we encounter something that is reminiscent of this traumatic situation, our body reacts. That could be in aggressiveness. It could be in like this extreme fear. And all of that is exhausting on the energy. You ever notice how like yes, you have your adrenaline rushing when you're in an argument or whatever, or like when you're crying or whatever the situation is, but then after you have calmed down, it's like you get tired. Do you ever notice that? That's very common for empaths too, and I'm getting that you might be an empath as well, or like that you typically have a pretty sensitive energy field. You may be a person also that is like, you might be introverted, like really you're all about like the home, the comfort of the home, and I mean not even necessarily alone, but just like with the people, surrounding yourself with people that you know is like good for your energy, comforting, nurturing. You might feel out of touch with your sexuality, your sensuality lately. I don't know. I think that you might be working on trying to ground yourself, or there's a suggestion to really ground yourself. It's like there's a pull for you to focus on, it's like there's a pull for you to focus on these more like worldly, tangible things, like money, job, solving this problem, having this house, having this title, this career, this accolade, this whatever. But you're in your soul, your energy, you're like, that's of the world. Like I'd rather connect with nature. You know what I mean? Like I would rather connect with nature. I'd rather do yoga and meditate. I'd rather like be in my element, like in flow, in nature. I just keep getting a lot of nature. It's like I just don't even, it's the harshness of the world and how fast paced and like and I think that it shocks you even, because it's like you are a person that you can manage this. You have been managing it. But now that it's like when you take I don't know, it's like you only know what you know. So if you're a person that has been drinking like only soda your whole life, and you're just like, okay, this is it, and I feel like I have all this energy, and then boom, I crash at night, and then someone was like, well, try this green juice. You know what I mean? This is your first time, and so you have this green juice, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, and then you go back to soda, and you realize, like, this shit has been fucking me up. Like, how have I been drinking my whole life? That's your energy. Where you're like, I have been living this way. How? And you recognize now, like, how burnt out you are, and how, like, that is not how you should be living, how you want to be living. Like, you want to be in nature. You want to connect. Yes, you want to, like, be self-made and make something of yourself. You're not a lazy individual, but you want to do it in a way that feels good to you, that feels like it's giving to you, instead of you constantly having to give out, and then you're depleted at the end, and then you find yourself being burnt out. You know what I mean? You're like, no, that's a part of your intended lesson, or that's what you recognize. And so now you're like, I'm just getting like kind of like transition energy, where like you've recognized this and you are committing to yourself. Like, you're like, I'm not going back to that. I'm not going back to, it doesn't suit well. Like, yes, I was able to do it before because I didn't know better. But now that I know, and now that I've experienced something different, when I go back to it, it's like my body cannot, it's trauma. It is trauma. You realize you have been living in this childhood wound of this instability and having to go and juggle these plates and problem solve. And you realize how it has your nervous system shot. I said that really aggressive. So you might actually even have PTSD. You might have been in an environment where you like have been around gunshots or shooting, or just like in a dangerous environment as well. Okay, so this is the final guidance card, and it says a fiery climax approaches, full moon in Aries. I really think that you need to get back in touch with your sexuality. Like, you might have been experiencing some celibacy or just whatever, withdrawing. I don't know. Maybe you felt a little insecure. I'm not sure. I don't really want to get into it all that much because I don't really feel like that's the point. But I feel like there's a suggestion to really just reconnect with yourself, even if it's just with yourself. Just really reconnect with that, like, creative energy. But, okay, so let's see. I'm going to read this. Full moon in Aries. Okay. A fiery climax approaches. It's time to see if you've been a little bit too much me. There's a tug of war going on between what you want and what someone else wants, but you'll have to wait. Am I reading the right one? But you'll have to wait a little while to see what's going to happen next. As you wait, ask yourself if you've been handling the situation as sensitively as you could have done. If you know deep down that you've been a little rash or harsh, gone too fast or overstepped the mark, then accept that on some level you've created this situation yourself, which means you can create your own way out of it too. When this card comes up, a peak is coming and it could be fiery. Interesting. Okay, let me read the teachings. It says the full moon in Aries is a super fiery time when emotions can run very high. On the upside, there's an excitement about what may lie ahead, but tempers are likely to flare with rash comments or decisions. No matter when you pull this card, it signals that the situation has just or is about to come to a peak, perhaps in a rather heated way. There could be a price to pay if you have been too competitive or too blunt. So that's interesting. Let me just look at this card and see what I'm getting, because I don't know. I feel like it's I don't don't know. I'm just getting brought back to like your commitment to yourself and to like your self-care roots, getting back in touch with yourself. Like the effort that you put into that, you know what I mean? It's like you're standing your ground. The effort that you put into that, you're not compromising anymore. And so I kind of want to pull one more. No, I don't want to pull one more. So yeah, take that how that resonates. Pile 3. I hope that something here was illuminating and that you felt seen and that this really gave a voice to what you have been experiencing. If it did resonate, if you did like it, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you think that this video will be helpful or beneficial to someone else, please feel free to share it. If you are returning from a previous video, thank you so much for coming back. And if this is your first time, I hope to see you again in the future. Thank you, Pile 3. Bye. Okay. Pile number 4. All right. We are giving a voice to your childhood wound. And I want to just go ahead and this one is pretty heavy. So I want to go ahead and just give a warning before I get started. I am going to handle this one pretty delicately because this may be triggering to hear. This might be something that you are still dealing with, the effects of this wound. This may be something that you are still dealing with. So you may still be trying to heal this wound and the effects that it has on you, meaning the way that you cope with this wound, you may still be dealing with that. And I want to just be upfront. I'm seeing signs of body image issues, possible eating disorder, and sexual abuse. So if you feel like you're not prepared to hear this message at this moment, please feel free to tap out, take a pause, come back whenever you feel ready, whenever that is, even if that's months from now. Do not re-traumatize yourself. I want to remind you once more that I'm going to be very candid and very frank. The purpose of this reading is to give a voice to our core wounds, to articulate it and express it in a way that maybe we are not able to, and also to provide some sort of insight and clarity as spirit sees it through me to you, maybe to help in your process of healing, or for clarity, to be able to move past this wound and then create a space for healing so that you can move forward within yourself and in your habits and how you interact with the world and with yourself and anybody potentially involved in this situation. So I just wanted to go ahead and give that disclaimer up front. So let's go ahead and get in. So even saying that, let's go ahead and get in. That is okay. So let me just go ahead and say what I'm saying here. I feel like I have to be very careful with what I'm saying because I don't want to re-traumatize. If it seems like I am lacking empathy, I want to remind you again, it is not. I have gotten clear instructions. I've been asked by my guides very clearly to remove myself from my emotional body and just articulate as they give it to me what I see, what I hear, what's shown here. So I'm going to be pretty direct and pretty blunt. All right, I'm seeing that you may possibly have experienced some sexual abuse in your childhood, possibly at the hands of a maternal figure. I heard even maybe an aunt, or someone maybe on the maternal line. So if it wasn't directly like your mother, maybe it's a relative of the mother, some maternal on the maternal line. You may identify as a male. And I'm getting the sense that you feel chained to this. Like, this secret is what I heard. You feel chained to this secret. And you may actually even feel right now in this moment, receiving this message, watching this, I'm just picking up on intense, like almost fearful energy, but it's not fearful like it's not frantic fearful. It's like I need to really make myself super small. Like, maybe if I just don't say anything or don't move or don't breathe, it's like I need to hide myself. And I just get the sense, I'm getting the image. So when I was shuffling these cards, I was getting the image of a child kind of like squatting down, hiding, maybe like it was somewhat like in the back of a closet, or somewhere like hiding, trying to hide, maybe like behind on like the side or a corner of a bed, in like a little, where there might have been like a cubby between like the wall and the bed, for example, or I'm just getting someone like kind of squatting down, hiding, and just like really being very quiet. Like, if I'm quiet, or if I hide, maybe they can't find me, and I won't have to have this experience. It's even a feeling of like you can't even express your fear, because to cry or to express anything, like to make a sound, it's like that could attract you. So there's this sense that, like, as a child you may have felt like you had to really hide yourself, because you weren't sure what exactly it was that brought this experience to you, and you may have questioned this. You may have questioned this with the divine, like, why is this my experience? Why am I going through this? What you might have even asked yourself, like, what am I doing wrong? Or and it's not what I'm doing wrong, but maybe like what did I do to deserve this in my lifetime or in a previous lifetime? Or it's like you're questioning fate, like why is this my experience? Like, you cannot understand. It's like you cannot understand it. Even maybe going through the process of healing that now. I just keep hearing, I don't understand. I think that you may have, I think that I think that this has created low self-esteem within you, because I think that on top of you experiencing this and not having an understanding why, and then having to hide it, so not ever being able to communicate to someone, I'm getting the sense that someone knows, or someone knew that it was happening and they were hiding it. Like, there was the person that was actually assaulting you, and then there was another person that maybe had a little more authority, possibly even someone of a very religious background, someone who knew, and it was just shoved under it was like swept under the rug, and swept. I'm just like swept. I keep hearing swept under the rug, and seeing like a rug being lifted and a broom like sweeping the dirt and the debris and stuff and putting it down. So I don't know if that phrase is significant to you. That might be something. That might be a phrase that was said often or maybe that's like a way that you might describe your family dynamic or how you function. Something about that phrase is standing out. But going back to what I was saying, I think that you feel very chained to this situation, like you cannot free yourself from it. It feels conflicting. Like, if to speak up about it, it's the conflict of, this is my family, and I love them. I'm supposed to love them. I'm supposed to, like, this is family. You're not supposed to go against family or anything like that. Versus, but this was done to me and this is wrong, and nobody is acknowledging it. No one is saying anything. No one has apologized to me. No one has explained the situation. Like, no one is acknowledging how this has impacted me. Everyone is pretending like it doesn't exist, and that is contributing to your feeling of unimportance, insignificant, of lack of love. I heard, why don't they love me? It's really heavy stuff what you're carrying. Like, I feel the energy, I hear the things, the thoughts that you have, and so this has created, because of this experience and because it has gone unacknowledged, I heard unchecked, because it has gone unchecked for so long. You've been carrying it, and it has possibly created self-image issues, body issues. I heard body dysmorphia. You may possibly like restrict your eating. There's something about, like, if you, maybe in childhood, it was like if you overate or if you didn't eat enough, if you can adjust your body to either be like really heavy or really thin, then maybe there wouldn't be an attraction. And I think that you are, so Spirit is telling me that you have processed this as like that's what it was, that there was an attraction, that you were doing something, or something in your body was attracting these people to you. But it's not that. It's something with the person. It's more so that, like, you were, I'm going to say this in quotes, the weaker person. That's not to say that you were weak. That's to say that in comparison of a child versus an adult, obviously the adult has more control, more ways to threaten you or to induce fear. They have a broader range of experience to be able to manipulate you, because you're young. It's not, you don't have the same means that an adult might have. And even if you did have the means, this is not to say that this is okay. Let me just explain that this is the situation, and this may be how I'm just articulating the message as Spirit gives it to me. So, what I'm being told is that it's like, even if you were to speak up or say something, it's like your word against theirs type of situation. And because you're a kid, it's like, what do you know, or what significance, like what weight does your word have? Do you know? And I'm being shown that, like, something about that situation and the way that you have processed that, that has impacted how you view intelligence, specifically within yourself and with other people. And something about, like, you look at intelligence as like a power dynamic, like superiority, like a power dynamic. Like, if you, like, it's almost like you using that, or you think of that, how can I explain this? It's like that's what you use as a defense mechanism, or you feel that is a way to protect yourself. Like, if you, how can I explain this? It's not, because this is, and the other thing is that this all developed because of this experience and because of how you have processed this. So it's not as calculated as I'm describing it. It's not as like intentional. You didn't set out with a plan that's like, well, if I'm intelligent this way, and if I arm myself in this manner, and if I interact with the world this way, it's not as intentional as that. It's not as like strategic as that, or planned out as that. It's not as detailed. It's just like over the years of you processing and trying to cope and understand this situation, and I'm specifically getting why this happened to you. In the process of in your process of unpacking that and trying to figure that out, I think that you might have questioned your own intelligence. It's like I'm just getting the sense that like you're trying to find a reason why this happened. And do you understand what I'm explaining? So like, was it, was I not, so anyways, what you came to was your intelligence. That's how you have synthesized this situation as to why this has happened to you. And you might have, so people, I'm just getting that the people responsible for this, the people that are responsible for this abuse, and that maybe have this maternal figure, this person on this maternal side, they may have really made you feel unintelligent. They may have made comments about, I heard you're so dumb. Like, they may have said things like that, like, you're so dumb, you're so stupid, you're such an idiot, why can't you this? Like, it was like constantly being picked apart and just spoken down to, like, super negatively, unfairly is what I'm hearing. And I feel that. And that has really, really, like, impacted that has really impacted your throat chakra. I was going to say your self-esteem, but also your throat chakra. As I was starting to say that, like, I felt the restriction, which reminded me that as I was shuffling, I felt a restriction, and I saw a vision of a person, a small child. It was a small person, a small child, like, I say small, but, take that. It was a young child in, like, a dark area, again, like a closet. And it was like the door was getting ready to close. So you see the light that was shining just kind of like slowly getting smaller and smaller and smaller as the door was closing, and it just starts to fill with darkness. And the child is trying to scream out and saying, no, but it's like the voice got muffled, like the mouth moved, and like the person tried to express, but like the sound wouldn't come out. So it's like I just get the sense that, like, you wanted to speak up, you wanted to say something, you wanted to say stop, no, you wanted to assert your control, but it just, like, so when I saw that vision, I was also feeling a lot of, like, my heart was pounding, like, kind of like fear and anxiety, like the fear of the consequence. So you might have actually even been threatened. I just, something about poison. I don't know. Something about poison, like, was that, I don't know if you were being poisoned or you were threatened to be poisoned, or possibly, like, someone has poisoned someone else. Something about being poisoned, and something about poisoning and food poison. Let me know if that or don't. I mean, I know this is personal, but I don't know if that resonates or if that makes sense. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that. I'm just getting, like, you were really taunted, like, laughed at in your face. Like, these people knew that what they were doing were wrong, and you were still, and so the way that you were impacted by that, you still were made fun of even on top of that. And I'm just getting that you were like a meek little thing. and I'm not saying that like that was bad or that you know what I mean, to judge. I'm just saying like your energy, what I'm seeing is like just a very quiet, soft, meek, like you didn't disturb anyone, bother anyone, create problems. You weren't, thrashing and yelling. Like you did your best. And now I'm being shown again that vision of like that child squatting down, trying to hide behind like a bed or in a corner somewhere in the back of a closet, just trying to hide from like torment. Okay, that's what I'm getting, that the situation, the way that it has impacted you is that it has made you feel you are not a person that would say this out loud or maybe even admit this to yourself. I think you run away from this. I think you know this, but I think that you do your best to try to run away from it or distract yourself from it. But there is this sense of, I think that you are afraid of being looked at as weak. I think that you have processed this experience that you had as a child as you being like I was saying before, was like there's this sense that you were the weaker one and this other person had this like power or this authority over you. And so your weights, and so it's like layers to that. So there's that. And then on top of it, I think your intelligence was insulted. Whether it doesn't matter whether you were doing, like you could have made an age appropriate mistake. So let's say, for example, you are a certain age and someone is expecting you to know how to handle situation A, but you wouldn't know how to handle that because you're only the age that you are. That's something that you would learn as an adult. I want to give a specific example, but none is coming to my mind. I think that that's intentional. I think Spirit wants me to keep it pretty general. So, and in that situation where you wouldn't know how to it's like, okay, let's say you're like 10. You know what I mean? And someone gives you the keys to a car and they're like, here, take these car keys and go drive to the store. And like, you're like, I don't know how to drive. I've never driven before. We've never practiced. I don't have experience. I don't know how to drive. And that's a completely normal response for your age. However, the way that the people around you responded to that is like, oh my God, you're so dumb. Don't you know how to do anything? That type of thing. Don't you know how to do anything? I think that was like said to you often. Don't you know how to do anything? Don't you know how to get it right? It was like comments like that constantly like reiterated that you are not successful. But, and then I also heard that something about failure. But I didn't quite catch that. What was it? I don't know. Now I'm seeing the word failure. So maybe you were told like that you were a failure. I'm just getting a lot of, like messaging that was given to you that you cannot. I heard rise up, that you can, and then I heard surmount, like that you would not surmount to anything. Does that make sense? Maybe that's something that someone said, that you won't amount to anything. What surmount? What? Anyways, that type of messaging. And so again, what I'm explaining is that the way that you've synthesized that is that like you need to be on your A game when it comes to your intelligence, so nobody can say that to you. And now you need to do whatever you can to not be seen as weak, no matter what it takes. I think I said in the beginning that you might even restrict your food. I don't think that you're necessarily doing that on a conscious level. So let me explain that. What I'm getting is, I don't think that you're like, well, let me skip this meal, because it's like whatever. I think that what happens is that you're so active in doing all of these things to reaffirm to yourself that you are powerful, whether what you're doing really is a way to reaffirm your power or not. It doesn't matter. I'll explain what I mean by that. But whether it's like I'm going to say in quotes, the right or wrong way to do it, whether it's the healthy or unhealthy way to look at power, you are active in how you are attaining your idea of power, that you're like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do that. And then next thing you know, so much time goes by and you haven't eaten. And it's just like, well, and like for you, I just heard that's the hustle. Like that's your kind of demeanor, your attitude, or your response to that is like, well, you know, that's the grind. That's what I heard. That's the hustle. That's the grind. It's kind of like, well, I got to get this power. So if I need to sacrifice eating, if I need to sacrifice my health, that's what I'm going to do. Because the way that you perceive power is distorted. And that's because of your experience. And so, because of your distorted view of power, the way that you have, the way that you interpret getting power is also distorted. You interpret and you view power as external, outside of you. Whereas, like, if you are I heard a boss over other people. Like, if you are the boss of people, I heard control and manipulate. So those might be your ideas of how you view power. Like, a person in a leadership position has to have control and maintain control. I heard iron fist, and I saw a fist pound down. Like, I think that you approach leadership kind of in this, like, my way or the highway. That's what I heard. Like, it's like no one can challenge you. No one can challenge your authority, because if so, that's a threat. You perceive that as a threat to your power. You perceive that as that person viewing you as weak and trying to challenge you. When that's not the case. Spirit said that's not true. Okay, so I'm just gonna channel real quick. This is from Spirit. I want to make that clear. Spirit is saying, how can you learn and grow if you don't open yourself up to being challenged? I heard status quo. So basically, Spirit is saying, like, you just maintain in the status quo. You just staying in the same lane at the same speed. You think that you are, like, flying down this highway because you're keeping yourself so busy and so distracted. And that's depleting your energy. So you feel like you're flying down this highway, but if you were to take a step back and look at, like, realistically, like, where you are, not just in a material sense, but like where you are in your spiritual growth, in your development, in your maturity, in the way that you interact with the world and people, your view, you will see that it's very childlike. Again, let me just reiterate, I'm not judging. This is the message. Spirit is coming through very clear and very direct. And they're coming through soft and gentle. They're being sensitive about it. But they're like, you need to hear this. I think that your guides have been trying to communicate this. They're saying, okay, so it's coming through, you guys. I'm just going to let it flow as it flows. But they're saying that you are ignoring the signs. I was going to say missing the signs, but it's not that you're ignoring them. Like, if someone were to tell, so like an example of that, this video, you watching this video, you'll see this and it may trigger you and you'll have a reaction to it. And then you will take this as a challenge to your power, and that I or Spirit or however you interpret this is viewing you as weak, and so you get huffy and puffy and cope however you cope. And I'm seeing, like, kind of just pacing back and forth. Maybe you are a person who drinks and smokes, that you'll respond in that way and mentally process it over and over and over, and then the conclusion that you'll get is wrong because the way that you're perceiving this is wrong. You're perceiving this as a challenge when really Spirit is trying to offer you. I'm seeing a hand with a silver plate. Spirit is trying to offer you enlightenment. But when they offer it to you, so the silver plate is not a silver plate. It's the shape of a plate, but it's not a silver plate. It's one of those, like, polished, it's a mirror essentially. And so what The metaphor is like they're trying to get you to be able to look at yourself and look at how you interact with the world and other people and see where there can be adjustment. Because when people are trying to, even spirit, when they're trying to offer you something, you are taking that as a challenge, or I heard assault, to your demeanor, to your personhood, to yourself. And you become defensive and you're ready to like fight it, to lash out, to push it away. And so because of that, you're remaining stagnant. You might be physically active and moving a lot, but you're not actually moving. I heard inertia. I think that you are a very smart, very intelligent person, but I think that that intelligence is very like logical and tangible and 3D based. Whereas there is, so there's a difference between, this is what Spirit is wanting me to communicate to you, is that there is a difference between logic and knowledge, being intelligent. There's a difference between intelligence and wisdom. You are functioning in intelligence. Spirit is saying you are very smart. They will absolutely not, they're not trying to take that from you to give you something else. They want to build onto that. They want to give you more. And so Spirit is saying that you want that. Like you want the wisdom, but you don't want to go through, I heard the shadow, I saw a tunnel, the darkness. You don't want to go through that dark tunnel of yourself, of your shadows, to get to the wisdom. You want the enlightenment, but you don't want to have to go in the dark. In order to bring light to the dark, you have to go into the dark. And Spirit is saying you have to do it. You don't have, this is me stepping in. I don't want to overstep. Please forgive me, Divine. I don't want to overstep. It's not me saying that you have to do anything. Spirit is highly encouraging you. They're saying, it's not even encouragement at this point. They're saying you have to do it. Because there's something that you want in your heart. I think I'm getting kind of emotional. Like, I think this is really touching you. Like, there is something that you truly want that you might not even be saying out loud. Might be something that you keep close to you. There's something that you want, and Spirit is saying, like, we want to give it to you. No, let me back up. They're saying that in order to be able to get to that, you have to go through the dark. Why? Okay, so Spirit wants me to explain why. Because, here's the analogy that they're giving me. If you had a 14-year-old, or if you were 14, if you had a 14-year-old, no, let me back that up. 11 is what they said. If you have an 11-year-old, would you trust them to give them the car keys in a vehicle and to handle that appropriately and responsibly? Do you feel that they've had enough experience with cars and with driving and with life and the roadway? And do you think that they have the attention span, the alertness, the responsibility? Can you trust them to not whip out their phone and text, or to take pictures and FaceTime their friends to show off that they have a car? Can you trust that 11-year-old to do that? So what do you think ultimately will happen? They'll probably crash the car and get into a wreck. Now they know that, what good is that? What good is that vehicle? It's total lost or whatever. So now it's ultimately taken away. That's what Spirit is trying to explain to you, and that's what they're trying to show you with all of these situations that they're bringing to you that feel very challenging to your personhood. They're trying to show you, I heard respectfully, that you are not mature. So to get what you want, you have to mature in order to maintain it and to be able to keep it and to take care of it for the longevity, because they're showing me that you want longevity. This thing that you want, you don't want it to be fleeting. You want it to be lasting. I heard lasting. You want it to be lasting. But in order for you to be able to have that and take care of that, in order for you to know that you have this, they're giving me the vehicle analogy again, this metaphor. In order for you to be able to manage this vehicle, you have to know that you have to get your oil changed every 3,000 miles or 3 months. You have to get your tires rotated every other oil change. You have to keep gas in your car. In order to keep the gas, you have to have some kind of income. It's like that. There's more than just getting it there. So you have to have the maturity within. It's more than maturity though. You have to have the evolution in self, in your spirituality, in your personhood, in how you interact with, in your perspective is what I heard, and how you interact with the world. Meaning, like, are you constantly in protection and defense mode? Are you constantly waiting for the world to come at me, bro? Like, it's like, that's the energy. Is like, it's like you are on 10, ready all the time. And it may not outwardly look like that all the time, but in your energy, you're like, you're ready. Anytime you perceive something as a challenge, you're ready to go there. And you may not always respond in that way, but the threshold, like the threshold for this line or this boundary, it's very small. It's very, very small. So it's like, I heard you don't give grace. Like, there's no grace. Okay, how can I explain this? Because this Spirit is making it very clear. This does not mean to rid yourself of all of your boundaries and that you should allow yourself to be disrespected. They're making it very clear that is not at all what they are advising. What they're saying is check your boundaries. Check your defenses, your defense mechanism. Your protection mechanism. And like, take account of that. See what is useful. So they're just bringing me back to this like gem that they gave me a couple months back, or however long it was, which is basically like, we can build up barriers to protect ourselves, but if we're not careful, these barriers we build around ourselves becomes a prison. And now, instead of keeping people at a safe distance, we're isolating ourselves. And that's what they're showing me that you have done. And so that's how you interact with the world. It's like you assert yourself in a way that so we have power hungry here, and that's the energy. Because Spirit is saying that if you can recognize, if you can understand that you're power hungry, they're like, be very clear. If you can understand how your power hungry approach is connected to your childhood trauma, you can make the change. If you can see how your approach to power, how you view power, how you think you're supposed to get it, why it is important for you to have this power, what you have synthesized having power to mean. If you can recognize that and remove, okay, so I heard you're not a little kid anymore. And that's how you are approaching the world, like you're a little kid, like you are, I heard, weakling. Okay, so Spirit said that they are calling you out. I like double checked and asked a couple times before I said that, because I want to be very clear. Spirit said they're calling you out. They're reminding me again that you've been given the signs and you're ignoring them. They're saying that your approach is like, you know best. You don't know. That's what I heard. You don't know what I've been through. Like, that's I don't know if you've said that or to Spirit or to people, but that's what I just heard. You don't know what I've been through. So maybe that's something that you've said, or that maybe that's what you're saying to yourself, like, as I'm speaking this. there's this sense, okay, so what they're showing me is like there's this sense that you feel, I heard entitled to your pain. Let me explain what that means. It's like your pain, you are the way that you are expressing this, the way that you're synthesizing this is like your pain is superior to anybody else's pain. Your experience is worse than anybody else. No, like you are, it's again with the power dynamic. It's like this superiority, inferiority thing. Like, oh, I had the worst pain in the world. Like nobody can understand. You don't know what I've been through. So like you're just approaching it like so when somebody, like you might be a person, this is what Spirit is giving me. You might be a person where if you are in a situation and someone is saying like, yeah, man, I had a really fucked up life, that you might approach that like, yo, you don't know fucked up until you live my life. Like, you know what I mean? It's like nobody can have a hand worse than you. And I'm just getting that you're using that to, this is what Spirit is giving me, that you're using that to justify the way that you like handle, that you navigate through this world, the way that you see things, the way that you present. And your demeanor is kind of, it's very like, I don't care. Like you're, it's kind of pompous. It's coming across a little bit pompous. Like, I don't care. Even to Spirit. So Spirit, yeah, so Spirit, okay, so I think that so Spirit's showing me that that's a defense mechanism, because when you are by yourself or when you go home at the end of the day or whenever you have like time, personal time, you are not nice to yourself. Like you're very mean. It's okay. So it's like the things that you have heard as a childhood, it's like as the things that you've heard in your childhood, that kind of maybe like gave the messaging that you're not smart or you're this or you're that or whatever. It's like you repeat those things to yourself. I'm getting, especially when things go wrong or when you're not feeling very confident, like you repeat those things to yourself. Spirit saying you're not nice to yourself. Stop that. This is what I'm channeling. Oh God, it makes like, oh my gosh, it makes your angels and your guides and your ancestors so sad. It makes them so sad to hear you like, okay, so they're saying to like, for you, I'm just going to channel. So what, okay, so I'm just going to channel. They're giving me a lot. So as it comes out, and then I'll clarify after if I need to, but this is what they're showing me, what they're saying. This is what I'm hearing. It makes them so sad that you are so hard on yourself, that you have been carrying this for so long, that you've been personalizing this as your own issue, as your own fault, as your own responsibility. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. Hear me when I say this. It's not true. They're telling lies. They're telling lies. Their spirit, your angels, your guides, your ancestors. I'm getting even your ancestors. They're so sad. They're sad of how you have internalized this. They said, let it go, release it, give it to us. They're showing me you crying right now. They said, let it out. They said, let it out. They're rubbing your back. They're rubbing your back. They said, let it out. Like, I'm just seeing you screaming right now, like wailing, like a deep, from the diaphragm, from the chest kind of cry. They're rubbing your back. They said they're rocking you. They said, let it out, let it out. I said it's okay. Release it. This is what you needed. You needed to release this. You need to release it. You need to release it. It's like it's like a chant now. Like, you need to release this. You need to release this. You need to release this. They're dancing. Oh, they are encouraging you. You need to release this. You need to release this is holding you back from what you want, from your blessings. You need to release this. They want you to reconnect to your heart chakra. They said love is safe. Okay. All right, so the intended lesson. The intended lesson has to do with your perspective surrounding yourself and how the way that you work towards something. I heard your value. You are good enough. I heard effortlessly. You are good enough effortlessly. There's a message that you might be a workaholic, or you might be a workaholic type. And something about that you are interpreting or internalizing as that's where your value comes from. Like, if you were to, I heard work smarter, not harder. Something about that, you are processing that as there's not as much value, whereas if you were to I heard on the grind, if you weren't on the grind. I'm seeing someone just kind of hustling, fast move, hightail, walking it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, what's up, you gotta, just kind of moving about, yeah, I'm gonna make this move right here, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna do this thing, and what's up, yeah, Tony, I'm gonna see you, this or whatever, like that. I'm seeing someone that's kind of moving about, and you, you are, that is that, okay, God, I don't know if there's a lot coming, and I'm trying to explain, okay, so I'm just gonna say the words that I'm getting, that's the power, okay, power, hustle, dynamic, value. It's that is how you you put all of those in a pot, and that's how you think that it's supposed to look. That's what you think you're supposed to do to have power. You know what I mean? You have to be this go, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. I gotta be this person that's constantly moving and constantly in this and in that and doing this and doing that, and hustle. I just keep hearing hustle, hustle. It's you feel it's if you're not hustling, you feel like you're not in your power, and that's not true. That's the lesson here. Change your perspective. The lesson is to try to see how you're functioning now, how you see yourself, and how you work towards something. Okay. So I'm just being reminded back to the messaging that you got about, it's comments that you may have gotten about your intelligence, and spirit again saying that's not true. You're holding on to that, and that's what's navigating you, whether you know it or not. And I'm getting the sense that you might, again, this is coming through very heavy subconscious messaging. So you might not even you might not have even you might not express this on a conscious level, but I'm just getting that this is subconscious messaging where you I think that you're very uncomfortable right now. I think that you're very uncomfortable. I want to just remind you, I am not judging you, and neither is spirit. So I want to move on to the animal spirit cards, because the Phoenix, spirit is coming through so heavy, like, for you. This is a spirit card, and I was immediately drawn to this when this came out. So let me just get into this, because I feel like let's incorporate some. Anyways, let me just get into it. All right, so this is what you can, the way that you've processed this is like an aspect within yourself that you have adopted based on this experience that has hindered you. So this is what you want to release. This is what you want to move away from. And we have the hyena, which is air. Not air. Excuse me, fire. Sorry, let me just find it. Hyena. Okay. Humor, wit, sarcasm. The hyena personality is a jokester and crowd pleaser, but below the surface there are unfulfilled dreams to be realized. When the hyena card appears, it's time to reflect on your reliance on sarcasm and humor to express your truth. Are you using jokes to hide old resentments in relationships, or to mask things that you feel uncomfortable discussing? What would happen if you took goals seriously? When you're out of balance, which that's what this side is, you're scrappy, petty, suspicious. Yeah, man, to bring into balance, sobriety. So earlier I was saying that you might be a person that copes by like drinking and smoking and things like that. And so that's what I was getting. And then I'm being reminded again, I'm being shown that tunnel, that dark tunnel that you have to go through to get to the wisdom, through the enlightenment. Like, you have to face your shadows. I think that you're afraid to. And I'm not judging. I wish I could help you. Oh my gosh, Power 4. Like, I wish I knew you personally. Like, I would work through this with you. What I would say is, as a person that has heavy Scorpio, heavy Pluto in my chart, like, I'm like all about submerging into the darkness of ourselves and other people and the shadows and stuff. And in doing so, what I've learned is that, yes, it is uncomfortable, but it's not as scary as we make it out to be in our mind. So if you have this experience, of sexual abuse, and maybe someone back when you were a child threatened you, if you told somebody, you might be holding on to that fear and allowing that to stop you. Whereas if you realize that you are now in your power, you are an adult, you are capable, you have your own authority, what can that person do? You have the ability to speak up and to understand that the threats that person made back then was their way of trying to protect their indecent behavior that they knew was wrong. And ask yourself, would that person really act on that? I don't know. I don't know if they would. I'm not saying they would or wouldn't. I don't know. You might have a better idea of that. And then ask yourself, if they were to act on that, how would you handle that? Like, what's an appropriate way to handle that? Asking yourself these questions and going through these scenarios will help you to bring this fear to its real size. Because it's like, if you had, I wish there was some sort of light so you can see, but it's like, you know how, like, on the wall when you were younger, you used to put your hand up like this and it would look on the wall like it's a giant bunny, but when you turn around, it's just your tiny little, not you personally, like, let's say me, it's my tiny little hands. You know what I'm saying? It's like that. Your fear, you have allowed your fear to, okay, so let me back up. Something about tiny little hands, I think that's a trigger. And so Spirit is just asking me to acknowledge that. I apologize if that is, if that stirred up a memory. or if that stirred up something. But that's the thing. It's like even things like that. So that's what they're saying. Like even things like that, where a simple phrase, and again, I'm not minimizing your experience. It's very real, and that is legit something that causes trauma. But what Spirit is saying is that at this point in your life, a phrase like tiny little hands from me, for example, like you don't know me personally, I'm assuming, so you wouldn't know that like I wouldn't do something with malice. But a phrase like that, you might receive that as a personal offense to you because it's your experience, and that's where that air of superiority about your experience comes in, where it's like, I should have known. You know what I mean? Like you might be a person who's like, well, you're psychic, you should have known that, right? Like that might be your energy towards that. And Spirit is saying, like, if you can address the shadows, if you can, in whatever way, if it's therapy, if it's a trusted person, if it's through journaling and working through it on your own, using tarot to help you process these things, whatever the situation is, but you have to go into the shadow. You have to go into the shadow. What do you need? Spirit is asking you. What do you need to be able to do that? I forget what the analogy. Oh, so yeah, because the fear. So you have allowed yourself this fear to be the huge shadow on the wall. But if you ask yourself those questions, you can uncover and really shrink the fear down and get to the root and realize that like the fear is not this as big as this shadow on the wall. It's my hands. And like a hammer could do damage to these hands. You know what I'm saying? So it's like putting a more realistic perspective on your fears so that you're able to address them and tackle them. Okay, so let's get into, this is how this has propelled you, what this experience has taught you that you can embrace and hold on to going forward, how this has propelled you through. So you have Spirit. I think that this is the first Spirit card that I have gotten, and it's the Phoenix, which I super love because, again, this I don't know if you know this, Pile 4, but this is representative of the Scorpio. So there are various vibrations and elevations, that's evolutions of the different zodiac signs, I believe. Or actually, to be honest with you, I'm not really sure. I just know because it's mine, Scorpio. So you have the lowest vibrational, which is the Scorpio. Then you have the Scorpio like runs and hides. And then you have the Eagle, which think can like, you know, rise above. And then you have the Phoenix that actually transforms. So that's how the approach to situations for, again, this is describing the Scorpio, that's the approach for situations. So a more lower vibrational Scorpio that's symbolized by the scorpion will they'll run and hide from situations. Then you have the Eagle who can zoom out and look at it and get a different perspective and, you know, make adjustments or not. And then you have the Phoenix, which is a Scorpio would allow a situation to transform them. So I am quite partial to this, but okay, let's see what it says. It says freedom from suffering and past karma reincarnation. Yes, love this already. The Phoenix represents the transformation of our past. It doesn't mean running from it, denying it, or burning bridges with rage. The Phoenix employs an advanced technique described in yoga as the burning of impurities through practice and dedication, tapas. The essence of the Phoenix is with us when we realize we have been suffering too long and something must change. We take a stand and decide to live consciously instead of being driven by the unconscious mind and its long list of fears and aversions. At that very moment, the spark of the Phoenix is lit and the great bird helps us burn through our baggage. We no longer run from who we are, what has happened to us, or what we have done. The stuckness and dead weight fall into the ashes and the lightness and clarity emerges. As the stagnancy continues to smolder, the phoenix lifts our spirits up, and we begin to recognize ourselves again. We may catch a glimmer in our eye that wasn't there before. Look closely. It's a sign the fire of transformation is upon your wings. That's amazing. I love that. All right, let's read the phoenix and the first chakra. The ancient yogis believed that our heaviest karmas reside in the first chakra. That's the root chakra, by the way. Okay, I'm sorry. This earthen center is also called Muladhara, or our root. Yeah, okay. The ascent of the phoenix begins here, and as the entanglement of karmas is slowly burned, it rises from the ash towards the navel center. Again and again, it makes this journey from the first to third chakra, purifying our essence, freeing us from the past. So very interesting. The first chakra is the root chakra, what has to do with our stability, our sense of belonging, and this has to do a lot with like tangible, physical, earthly, heavy 3D type things, and the way that we see ourselves and how we fit in this world. Then you have the second chakra, which is the sacral chakra, which has to do with our sexuality, also our creativity. And then you have the third chakra, which is mentioned here, which has to do with our confidence, our drive, our willpower, how we assert ourselves. So this talks about everything that we've hit on. So as you can stabilize and really ground yourself, the root chakra has to do with grounding, really ground yourself in reality and not in the subconscious belief system. Again, this is not to minimize your experience, but to step out of the perspective that you've been stuck on, if I can be frank, and allow a different perspective to come in, and then kind of like sit with that, work that around, see how that feels. That's going to address your root chakra, your sacral chakra. Remember, we were talking about your childhood experience, and then also your solar plexus, which has to do with your confidence, your power, how you assert yourself in the world, and that will help balance out your lower chakras. So if you are a person, for example, that you deal with aggression by acting out sexually or being very physical and violent, or maybe you have a lot of sexual partners, or you're overly aggressive or whatever, it's like it's mastering your lower nature, your lower desires, and acknowledging the shadows of this will help to bring those chakras in balance, because the way that you are responding tells me that these chakras are either overactive or blocked. And here you have it here, overactive and blocked. So yeah. Okay, so the spider. Let's go to the spider. Okay, somewhere in here is a spider. Aha, okay. So again, this is what to embrace. Okay. Spider, creator of prosperity through life's work, Dharma. The spider is an ingenious creator. Its greatest gift is weaving the thread of Dharma into a vast, intricate web that supports the spider and those around it, both financially and spiritually. It is hard work, but the spider neither tires nor becomes impatient. This card reminds us creativity is everywhere. Be process-oriented rather than results-oriented, and soon your work becomes like the weaving of magical, priceless tapestry. Abundance flows. When in balance, you're appreciative, enthusiastic, and prosperous. Playful creativity helps to bring this into balance. So I feel like, so what this is saying is, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but gosh, I got something and then I lost it. So I think that means like I don't need to explain anymore. Like I feel like that will resonate how it's supposed to for you, and I don't need to add any more on that. All right, pile 4. This was, if you are still with me, I want to say thank you, and I want to say I see you. I love you, and I want you to know that I know I don't know you personally, or at least I don't think I know you personally, but if you think that I can help you in some way to be able to work through this, whether it's through tarot or conversation, sharing my own personal experience, or my communicating with the guides, a personal reading, I'm not sure. Please feel free to reach out, and I will do my very best, because I believe in you, pile 4. You got this. You can do this. And I mean that sincerely from the very pit of my soul. And I hope you feel that. So thank you so much for coming to this reading, pile 4. I want to just acknowledge one more time your patience through this. I know this wasn't an easy topic, so thank you for sticking with me. If you feel like this was something that was helpful, and I really hope that it was, I really truly hope that it was, please like, comment, subscribe. If you think that someone else might benefit from this video, please feel free to share this with them. If you're returning from a previous video, thank you for coming back. And if this is your first time, I hope to see you in a future video. Thank you, pile 4. Bye. Number 5. I don't know why I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't think that I am, but I think that tapping into your energy, like that's how you feel. Like you feel like you're forgetting something, or the way that you navigate. Okay, so as I was shuffling through, and the cards for the childhood wound, which I'll get into, came out, it's like I saw it so clearly, and then it was like, okay, I can see it. And it's like, without even thinking, I know how to navigate this. Like, and I'm like, okay, I can keep this going. Like, let me just keep moving through this. And it was like a very confident feeling. And the way that I can describe how I'm like relating to your energy is like how my intuition works. So I have clear cognizant ability, which means clear knowing. So it's like a situation where you like see something, and all of the details, to a degree, like all of the details of that situation and how to navigate that, and like the intentions or the motivation of how that maybe a certain person in that situation is acting, like it all comes to you, and you're like, boom, okay, I can see this clear. You, but also me. I'm relating when I was tapping into, oh my God. Let me back up. I'm on go mode, tapping into your energy. It's like, it's very fast moving. And that's what I'm trying to explain, is like the way you may be a person that's super intuitive, really connected to I'm getting emotions and to your intuition. And we'll get into that a little bit more, because I think that not a lot of people know that about you, but we'll get into that. So going back to describing the energy, it was like, as soon as the cards came out, like I already knew the layout of like how this is going to go, how this is going to explain, like how I'm going to explain it, and like moving through that. It was very quick. It's like, it's what I would relate to a download. So I'm explaining that because tapping into your energy, that's how you are. And I think that you have psychic abilities, and I don't know if you know that or not, but that is the gist of this message and your energy. So going back to the actual topic here, which is giving a voice to a childhood wound. The core wound that I'm seeing here is that you may have experienced emotional manipulation, maybe at the hands of a maternal figure. So whether I heard guardian, so whether that's a guardian, your birth mother, and maybe like an aunt or an uncle, if you were in a foster care or adopted, the maternal figure was very emotionally manipulative. And I'm seeing like someone, like I'm seeing an adult and a child, and the adult is like, here you go, you want this, like a toy or something to the child, like, here you go, you want this. And then as the child goes to reach for it, the adult pulls it back and it's like, oh, but you got it, da-da-da-da. And then it's like, oh, but do you want this? And it's very taunting. It's very like, here you go. But also it's bribery is what I heard. It's manipulative. It's like very, and this is all coming in so clearly. The way that I'm like fast talking and explaining what I'm seeing as it's coming in so quickly is how you are. And I don't know that you realize it or not, but that is your intuition. That is a psychic ability. Do you ever find yourself, as I'm like, so as I channel, I have movements and I'm looking around and I'm doing things. And so if you were to look at me and break down my movements and my motions, you might assign meaning to it as if I am consciously doing it, and I'm not. When I'm channeling, it's like I am out of my body. So I'm in my body in the fact that I'm physical and I'm moving. So when I like straighten these cards or when I put my hand on something, it's on a subconscious level. I'm not consciously doing that. However, in this moment, I did realize that on a subconscious level, when I was talking about intuition, I put my hand on the High Priestess, and the High Priestess is the card of intuition. The number 2 or the number 11 or 1 might be significant to you. Even 1111, I'm looking at these candles, it looks like 1111. You might be a life path 1 or a life path 2, maybe even a life path 11. Okay, let me refocus. So I'm seeing someone that was very emotionally manipulative, and I heard battered, and you took the brunt of it is what I'm hearing. That you were really battered from this situation, because you trusted this person. And what I'm getting is that because of that emotional manipulation, so you may not have recognized this as a child, but you got really adept at connecting with your intuition to be able to decipher. I'm seeing like, you know how on maybe it's The Matrix. I've never seen that movie, but what I'm seeing is like it's like a black screen with green writing, and the screen is black, and then you just see like a flood of like digital going down the screen, like digital markings, maybe zeros and ones, or like codes, like going down the screen, like the download of the information. Like that's how your brain works. And you may not have recognized that I'm hardcore getting that. Like you may not have even recognized that that's what was happening as a child, but as you have grown up into adulthood and you made a more conscious effort to tap into your intuition, you're starting to recognize how that works, how you do receive these downloads and things like that. And so I'm getting, this pile is getting a heavy focus on like current, where it's like this childhood wound. Yes, it's real. It was a thing, but I think that you have overcome that. I think that you have overcome the pain of that wound. I mean, talking about it, I'm still here. So I'm seeing like fire. So I think that it's still like can enrage you if you are back in the presence of this maternal figure who was supposed to be a loving, nurturing person, but I'm saying she, but this person, even if it was a man that was just more feminine, I'm getting like maternal energy, but maybe that's to mean that this person was supposed to be nurturing. Either way, it's a parent that's coming through with very like maternal / feminine type energy. And I'm strongly getting like a mother type figure, but please take this how this applies. Okay, so Spirit is saying, even if you had like 2 dads as a parent, and then you had one that was the more maternal, feminine, it could be a situation like that, for example. Either way, my point is, like when you interact with this person today, or if you think about some of the situations, I'm seeing that it's still, you can still be triggered by it. For the most part, because we're like in a perpetual state of healing and making progress in our lives. So for the most part, you have overcome the pain of that. So it's not something that you like cry about or whatever. Like mostly when you talk about it, it lights a fire under your ass is what I heard. Mostly when you think about it, it lights a fire under your ass. Like you're recognizing okay. So I'm seeing a scale and I'm seeing like eggs being placed in it. So it's like weighing up. Okay. So it's like the positive plus the negative. So it's like weighing up the impacts of the positive versus the negative. And that's what has helped you to be able to move past the pain of it, because it's like on one hand, yes, this was painful and this was stunting, but on the other hand, you recognize how that really connected you with your own power and with your own intuition and your own sense of self. And it has given you the ability to, I'm seeing and hearing resilient. I'm seeing the word resilient and hearing resilience. So it's connected you with your ability to be resilient, and then also with your ability to cloak. That's what I heard. Yourself. So you can recognize in a situation quickly when you need to pull your energy back into yourself, or when you're able to give it, when you can contribute, or when you should hold back, when someone is being manipulative, or when someone is being genuine. Like you are super psychic, and I don't think that you know that. I'm not sure that you're aware. Okay, so I'm seeing you now like going to Google and doing an internet search of like what is psychic, or like researching that, like psychic abilities, what does that mean, to see if like you have these things. And so I don't know if this is something that you're doing now or you thought of doing, or if spirit is suggesting that you do that, because they're hardcore reiterating that like I don't think that you recognize how psychic you are, or you don't recognize your abilities as psychic. Like you don't know to recognize what you're capable of as psychic. They're saying that like what you have the ability to do, you think is a common thing. Like you think like, isn't everybody able to do that? No, everybody does not have the ability to be able to download this information and know how to move the way that you move. Everybody doesn't know like, okay, well, it's time for me to leave this situation because this isn't feeling right. Everybody doesn't have that. Everybody can't have a 5-minute, 3-minute conversation with someone and be like, something's off with that person. That's not someone I want to connect with. Everybody doesn't have that ability to do so. You might be shocked how many people don't have that ability. So there's not so much focus on the wound, because again, spirit is saying that you have overcome the pain of it, because you have been able to see how you are able. That's what it is. Okay. So I think you might process this in a logical sense, like the way that you interact with people and the relationships you build, you're able to see that. And you might actually be a person that like attribute that to the study of body language, or to comparing. I've heard compartmentalizing. So, compartmentalizing. Maybe you compartmentalize your interactions or people. Something about like knowing like how people fit into what, like based on their actions or their body language, and that's how you interact with that person. And so it's a very logical approach in that way, but even without that, it's beyond that. This is intuitive. This is very like psychic. And so spirit is just kind of really reiterating that. I think that they are encouraging you to really research what that is. Okay, so the focus more is on that and not necessarily the childhood wound, because it seems like this is really, and actually this is the card for like how this situation has hindered you, like what you need to release, like what aspects within yourself you have developed from this situation that you need to release that's holding you back. But when this one came out, I'm interested to read the details, because when this came out, I felt like it needed to be on this what to embrace side, but we'll see what it says. So how you're interacting with the world, you self-protect in a way that it's back to that cloaking that I was telling you. Like, you know how to navigate situations where, not to, I heard illuminate all of you at one time, because you understand motives and intentions of people, even if they don't consciously know it. You can feel the undercurrent of an intention or a motive. So you are cool. You're totally comfortable, and like you need to, in order to maintain your peace, you need to be able to withdraw your energy. You need to be able to pull away from people. You need to be able to cloak and self-protect, not in a way that is defensive. Because if you meet someone that is genuine and authentic in their self, and you feel that in their energy, you're cool. You're cool with like unwrapping these bandages, you know what I'm saying, and showing who you are. But when that energy changes, you're like, wrap this baby on up. Let's close this sarcophagus. We're going to shut this down. Like, that's your energy. And you are so cool with however you need to dodge and weave. I heard dip and dodge. However you need to navigate the situation. And how you interact with yourself. Like I think that you're like learning about the details of your intuitive gifts or your psychic abilities, and as you're navigating it, like this isn't something that you necessarily hardcore broadcast, and if you do, it's recent. But even that, I'm seeing that there are like certain maybe outlets or avenues or people that you feel comfortable like working through this with or communicating about this. But like as far as like a one-on-one interaction or conversation about this, there's not very many people. However, you might be exploring that. I heard moniker, so you might have like a nom de plume that you might use to explore these. If you're a person, for example, that reads tarot, or I heard fortune teller, predicts the future. So if you are a person that's tapping into your like through divination, tapping into your intuition and your psychic abilities through divination, you might use a moniker or a nom de plume and go through that way while you're learning and exploring that. But like as far as having a one-on-one conversation with people, and I'm getting family members, especially this maternal figure, you're not really like, you don't care to. Partly because you know that person is emotionally manipulative and they're cloaked. They're not even, they're like, I'm just looking how heavily covered she is. Like that's a defense. Like that's it's like hiding. That person is hiding from their self is what I'm getting. But yeah, so interesting. Okay, the intended lesson from here. The intended lesson is to, I heard know when to walk away. And pursue. I'm getting like two intended lessons. So like knowing when to walk away from a situation that's no longer giving. So you know how I was explaining to you where you can sense when the energy changes and when it's like this is no longer good or healthy or whatever. Knowing when to be out. That's one of the lessons. By using your intuitive gifts, by sensing the energy, by sensing the situation, my heart, I just got like a sudden, it felt like my heart just dropped just now. Like I got a sudden burst of anxiety. I think there's this fearfulness that you might get caught is what I heard. So I think that you're doing this in secret, and that it's like the lesson, Okay, so there's that part. And then there's also the part of like pursuing your passions. So it's like knowing when to walk away from situations that don't fall in line with your passions and taking on the opportunity, even if it scares you to death, is what I heard. Even if it scares you to death. And I'm like, my heart sank again. Like there's this fear of getting caught. But even if you need to do that, so like the way that you might be doing it with the moniker, the nom de plume, and if you're not doing that, then maybe that's a suggestion. If you want to explore or try it that way, to use that, a nom de plume or a moniker, which is basically like a fake name. You know what I mean? Like I'm a fake name. To do it that way, to explore until you are like comfortable and you feel in your power, until you get to a point where I heard you no longer care about what other people think. and you recognize that your passion is priority, your own fulfillment, your own wants and needs. So, okay, let me read this owl real quick. All right, this one is Aya. I think that you are like really, you have started already to, I feel so confident tapping into your energy. I feel confidence. I feel like you are, I think that you are coming out of maybe like this fear of being found out, quote unquote. Like, I think that you are like kind of beyond that now. I feel confident when I'm tapping into your energy. Like, as soon as I got this, it was like, boom, quick. This is about to be like, blah, 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 blah. I could just spit this all out. It just was so clear and I felt so confident. I was like, boom, let's go. Let's get it. We got it. All right. So, which, kudos to you. All right. For a childhood wound, this is good energy. I think that you've made the most progress of the piles. So I can't imagine how challenging that might have been, but kudos to you, pile 5. All right, so I'm supposed to keep my own commentary and emotions to myself. Sorry, spirit. So let me just move on. All right, you have here the owl. So it says, if I could just get myself together, it says abundance. Yes, I think this is supposed to be over here, but it says abundance, clairvoyant treasures. The owl is a mysterious and otherworldly creature found in folklore from east to west. The white owl is in this particular deck is the companion of the goddess Lakshmi and represents wealth, beauty, and good fortune. When the owl card appears, it is an omen that a boon or treasure is on the way, either in spiritual or material form. I feel like I should read this very like, with owl wisdom on your side, you'll see and know exactly. That's what I was saying. Okay. You'll see and know exactly what to do with this boon. Yes. How it can further serve your dharma and bring abundance to the world. Trust that the wellspring of treasures is infinite. When in balance, generous, trusting, secure. That's what I'm saying. When out of balance, money quarrels, scarcity. I don't get that at all. So I really like, you may not, I'm just getting from you pile 5 that you are at the phase in addressing your childhood wound of being past where it has hindered you, and you've flipped this as an empowerment source. You've now turned this into something that has held you back into something that's propelling you forward. So like, this totally should be on this side, and you're the only pile that got 3. So let's see what it says about Beaver. So this side is what to embrace, how this has propelled you forward, what you can continue to lean into to keep moving in a direction that is works for your highest good. That's in alignment with your path, your purpose. Okay. The other one, water. Agua. Okay. Beaver. It says hard worker, loyal, tireless, family first. The beaver personality is a welcomed sight. The good-natured and dependable creatures have infinite love and enthusiasm for family and express it by way of the earth element, providing a home, financial stability. Although a beaver doesn't usually initiate a project, once started, they'll work steadily for weeks, months, or years to see it through. The beaver card appears when the task at hand requires your long-term steady effort. It can also signify that it's time for some karma yoga, selfless service. When in balance, happy, meaningful work. When out of balance, feeling useless, worn out. I totally get that. In your energy is happy. It's meaningful. It's like, feels pretty good, pile 5. I'm gonna be honest with you. For this to be a childhood wound, like, kudos to you sincerely, because let me keep my personal opinions to myself. Yes, spirit just confirmed. All right, so let's move on to what it says about the whale. The whale. Okay. Desire to delve deeper, profound peace, ancient wisdom. That's what I'm getting. It's like this research, like this desire to know more, to uncover more. Okay. The whale represents profound emotional health and stability. Whale personalities are not afraid of emotional expression or traversing difficult terrain as they have overcome many challenges in their lives. Exactly. These experiences have enriched them, given them stability, strength, and a depth that is rare. Well energy is usually linked to the feminine forces of compassion and communication. We can depend on well personalities when all else seems lost and trust them to be a beacon in our darkest hour. When in balance, calm, steady, deeply compassionate. That is totally what I'm getting for you, which is phenomenal. This was a pretty clear-cut reading, so pile 5, I love this for you. Congratulations, kudos. This is amazing. I hope that something here resonates, that you feel seen in this pile. If so, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you think that this video would be beneficial to someone else, please feel free to share it. If you're returning from a previous video, thank you for coming back. And if this is your first time, I hope to see you in a future video. Thank you, pile 5. Bye.